Hello, hello, hello. How's it going, everyone? Happy race day. Got my coffee, getting my caffeine boost. I'm ready for what is going to be a interesting Barcelona Grand Prix. It's not often we get to say that, guys. Not often we get to say that. Hey, Destiny, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Anthony, Yorman, Anella, Schnacker, seen loads of you. Welcome, welcome. At the moment, so I have run a poll of who people think is going to win, and Lando Norris is just edging it from Max Verstappen at the moment. But yes, hello, everyone. How's it going? Hey, Roo. Hey, Daisy. How long till Norris gets overtaken? Well, look, regardless, even if he does get overtaken into the first corner by Max Verstappen, or potentially the two Mercedes drivers, it's a very long straight down to the, a run, should I say, down into the first corner. So we've seen it happen before where someone in third or fourth has been able to get into the lead. And of course, there's been no lack of drama in that first corner in previous years before. So, no worries, Stephen. Where do I think Sainz will go? Williams. Yeah, I think that's a done deal. So, fancy Lewis for surprise today. Yeah. The origin of Stuffy, Paul. So, it's quite simple. Scott is my first name. So, S for Scott. And then Tuffy is my last name. Stuffy. So, yeah, except there isn't an extra Y on the end of my actual real name. Someone already had the spelling of Stuffy without the extra Y, and I had to put that on. So, yeah, that's where it comes from. You on early today, Dragon? Who do I think will win? So. I still think it's a bold prediction. I'm going for my boy. Going for Lewis Hamilton. There's something that just, I don't know, something that I felt, obviously he's already had a good qualifying. There's something that just, I still think he's going to have a good race today, and I think he could potentially win. And I think the Mercedes are in a good position today with strategy, with two cars available to them to do something. However, the sticking point in that is George Russell, because we know how much he just wants to beat Lewis Hamilton more than anything. So, yeah. Should be the Williams team manager. Your name's William. Any whiskey in that coffee? No, Nero. I'm being a good boy today. I'm being a good boy. You thought I'm Scott Stuffy, not Tuffy. No, Scott Tuffy is my full name. So, yeah. Stuffy is an iteration of just basically my first initial and my last name. That's it. Simple. Simples. If it's a Merc, I think Russell over Hamilton unless it's raining. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Mercedes are both good. There was hardly anything to separate them yesterday. So we'll see. Not long to find out. We'll show you, of course, as always is part of our pre-show, guys, is I have the strategies available for you. I have the tyre allocations available for you. And a little brief weather report as well. Because there is a percentage that there could be some rain today. Although it is dry at the moment and it is pretty sunny. There has been rain over the course of today already this morning. But the track is dry at the moment. So thanks, Shailesh. Music, yeah, I run the same kind of playlist, Shadow. So 18 car pile up and Ricardo in. Hey Mark, good to see you. Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome for tuning in to this Spanish GP watch along. Not long until the race gets underway. Just under 40 minutes now. Drivers are making their way round to their grid positions, doing their practice starts. We don't have the data available to show you that. Not that it's really interesting, but yeah, drivers doing some practice starts at the end of the, just outside the end of the pit lane, and yeah, they'll be making their way and getting prepped for the race start. And we'll get, of course, a few minutes before the race starts, we'll get an indication of which tyres they're all going to be starting on. I think everyone's going to be starting on the soft. Maybe someone will try and mix it up further down the grid and go long, and goal hang maybe for a safety car, because of course if you pit under a safety car, you get a cheaper pit stop, you gain a lot more time. So watching me is way better, Pinoy. Of course it is. Of course it is. Lewis back on pace with George now, but he's not being sabotaged. Well, you know what's really interesting? And look, I take the sabotage thing with a pinch of salt. If the email is true and it's come from someone within Mercedes, then they've got a whistleblower case in their hands. It could just be a disgruntled fan, but then again, a disgruntled fan, how have they been able to get the emails of everyone who basically was sent to, like the Christian Horner thing? So they're not exactly easily accessible to get. But he did repeat that he had issues with tyre blankets again in Q1, which is why he had to go. Which is why his first lap was slow. So, do Mercedes have an issue with their tyre blankets, or is someone trying to do something a little bit untoward to Lewis Hamilton to unsettle him? I don't know. Mercedes haven't come out and squashed the rumours though. But they haven't gone, oh, we're looking into the tyre blanket issue with Lewis. They're just going, how ridiculous it all is. But if your driver's vocally coming out and saying he's got issues with tyre blankets, why are they not being open and addressing that? You know? I just think some things aren't quite adding up, because Mercedes are normally very forthcoming with that and going, yeah, no, we're looking into it. There may be that, yeah, the tyres are coming out of the pit box a bit colder than we'd like them to be. Something we're going to look into. But yeah. But then he got it sorted anyway, because he was obviously, and he ended up finishing third. Do I think there'll be a safety car or red flag? Possibly. Yeah, potentially. I mean, look, we have George Russell and Lewis Hamilton lining up alongside each other today. We have Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon lining up alongside each other today, which has kind of gone under the radar. We know there's no love lost between those. And the nature of these cars now, with how it is a bit more difficult to... Hamilton reporting that the wind has picked up. So it is quite windy out there today. So we could potentially see some errors with gusts of wind at Barcelona. Hey, Ikra. You're lagging, Mark. Is anyone else lagging? Or is it all good? Hang on a sec, guys. Hang on. Seems to be all good my end, so... All good, all good. Happy days, happy days. Don't scare me like that, guys. Don't scare me like that. Right, so. Let's move that over. Why can't I move stuff back over? Oh, hang on. I've lost that. Where's... Oh no, what's happened there? 2 seconds, guys. I've done something with my stream. What have I done? So it's nothing on your end, it's on my end. I've done something my end and I don't know what I've done. Oh. Can't I move that over? Oh no, what have I done? I can't see anything. How was the trip? Yeah, trip was very good, guys. Trip was very good. How was the bump? Yeah, she's good. Alright, hang on. I'm trying to... That's there. That's there. Can I don't want to close it. I just want to minimize it. How do I do that? There we go. Shit. Oh, yes, I can move it. There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, issues. I was wondering if I'd have to close my stream, which I didn't want to do. Real good, real good. Whew. Whew. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Some bit of technical issue on my end. Apologies for that. Apologies. Hamster's leaving the pits. Yeah, not quite my wife. She is my better half, though. She is my better half. One day. But yeah, no. Yeah, we had a baby scan on Saturday, and everything's all good. Or yesterday, so yeah, not long to go until 2 become 3. Hey Eddie, got an interesting question for me. Would you rather have close racing with always the same winner, or different winners per race with a big margin? Close racing with the same winner. Because I want to see close racing, regardless of who wins. Because that's the buzz that I get out of. I don't care if someone wins by 30 odd seconds, 20 odd seconds each time. That's boring, even if it's a different race winner. We're here to watch racing. And racing is going wheel to wheel, overtaking. If the same person comes out on top every time because of their skill and because the team is better with strategy and so forth, then so be it. But we get a buzz out of watching racing, and that's what we're here for as F1 fans and racing fans. What are my thoughts on Flavio being back in the paddock? Absolutely disgraceful that he's allowed back anywhere near an F1 grid. That man, like, yeah. That whole thing was just ridiculous. Oh, what's that with my thing now? Oh, God. Why is my Streamlabs... Oh, why is my Streamlabs going on the fritz? Sorry, you guys cannot see what I'm seeing right now, and it was just freaking me the hell out. Yeah, I don't think he should be. I don't think he should be anywhere near the grid. Like, Crashgate was ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't given... He was initially given a lifetime ban, then it got reduced not long after that. Everyone still is under the assumption he's got a lifetime ban. That's not the case. So, yeah, but I don't think he should be anywhere near the grid. And the fact that Alpine have hired him back on, it just indicates how dire the situation is at Alpine behind the scenes at the moment. So, yeah, very, very strange appointment, in my opinion. You've had to reload 5 or 6 times already today, Mark. Hopefully, it does unfortunately seem like it might just be yourself at the moment. Is there anyone else having issues with the stream? I think everyone's okay at the moment. I think so. Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I've seen that video. It's been a bit of a discussion in the Missed Apex Patreon Discord and within our own group chats. So, stream is perfect. Yeah, sorry, Mark. I mean, sometimes unfortunately it is just on different ends of the internet. Just try loading up your phone, PC, whichever it is that you're watching it on. But, so guys, race starts in half an hour. Shall we have a look at the strategies for today? Shall we have a look at them? Why not? Why not? Let's go. Here we are. So, as is always the case at Barcelona, it's a very high-loaded circuit. Lots of fast, free-flowing corners, which kind of doesn't help with the overtaking situation here at Barcelona because there's not really many hard braking zones. But it is a two-stopper. So hallelujah, we've got a two-stop race, guys. At least that makes things interesting. So Pirelli is predicting everyone to start on the soft compound tyre, which I think was, if memory serves me right, what a lot of people did last year. Then they switched to either the medium or hard compound in the middle stint. And then they might end on another set of softs or end on a set of mediums. I think, personally, we're going to see, and you'll see why in a second with the tyre allocations that are left, I think we're going to see this strategy, the third one down, be the most preferential strategy. The soft, hard, medium, where every compound is used. Because a lot of the teams, and we'll have a look at the tyre allocations in a second, a lot of the teams have a brand new set of hards and a brand new set of mediums available to them. Not many have brand new sets of softs. Only a couple of teams have a brand new set of softs. So, yeah, I think the third one down is probably where we're going to see it best. I do think a couple of teams and a couple of drivers further down the grid who are maybe a little bit out of position. Maybe Sergio Perez starting on a harder compound tyre. Not necessarily the hard, but the medium. trying to go long, extend that stint, goal hang for a safety car. Red Bull will probably use Perez as they have done in the past at the likes of Imola. Leave him out there as long as possible. Hold up the likes of Lewis, hold up the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari, just to give Max a little bit of breathing space when it comes to the pit stops, because he did that at Imola, and arguably that one lap he held Lando Norris up was the difference in the end, if you look at it, because of how close that finish was between Max and Lando. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. Maybe we'll see someone go bold with a free stopper, but the pit loss time here is around 22 seconds, which we'll also have a look at as well. Have I driven an F1 car yet? Me? No. In real life? No. On a sim, yes. Medium, hard, soft. You think, Georgian? Yeah, I think a couple of drivers will go for that. Yeah, I think a couple of them will go for the harder compound, like the medium compounds, in the first stint. So just to try and go long. Perez is good, but I don't really know where is the problem. He's not good enough. He's not good enough for Red Bull. Adrian! Thank you for the membership, buddy. 32 months. Oh my god. I'm going to have to update the badge for 36 months. I don't have one for 36 months, and you're fast approaching that, buddy. So thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Hope your race went well. I didn't catch the end of it, so yeah, hope your F1 race went well in iRacing. Will Merck split their strats? I don't think they might split the middle stint, Scott. I don't think they'll split the start. I think if they split the start, being on the second row, with Lewis or George on the mediums, on either one of them on the harder compound tyre, I just think that's going to leave them vulnerable down into turn one. It's a very long run down into turn one of the longest on the calendar. They've got an opportunity to slipstream either Max Verstappen or Lando Norris and potentially have an attempt into turn one. So yeah, I think that would be a mistake. They might do something different in the middle stint, but yeah, they have two drivers there to try and force, depending on how close the race is. If Lando and Max drive off into the distance, then of course that they might not be able to force the issue with that extra driver to their hand. But yeah, I hopefully they are able to stay close and we have a genuine race on, and Mercedes can do something different by either pitting Lewis early or pitting George early, forcing the Red Bull and the McLaren garage to think about something. So P9 in the end, Adrian. Still a good top 10, mate. Still a good top 10. Think Merck, it may come down to driver preference. Yeah, so today's going to be an interesting one. I'm really intrigued to see how that dynamic plays out. I think George Russell's going to be straight onto the radio if he doesn't get past Lewis Hamilton into the first corner. And he's going to be on the radio, George Russell, going, let me by, I'm quicker. All that usual jazz that we hear from George Russell. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they favour him in regards to strategy. So yeah. Should Merck go all in for the win, even if it's disadvantage one driver at the end? Yeah, I think so, because how often they've had so few opportunities of winning races in the last 3 years. I think you have to just, whoever's in the best position, if they have to sacrifice one driver, I think they should do that. I would do if I was a team principal, even if that driver is leaving at the end of the season in the form of Lewis Hamilton. I think you've just got to try and take it. You've got to try and take that win when you can, because they don't know. The rest of the season, they might not be up to scratch. The other teams may overtake them again and that. So Russell Reddy might depend on the strat they've arranged, yeah. Can Perez be in the top 5? Potentially, yeah. I think he'll only be in the top 5 if there's a safety car, though, and he's able to benefit from that cheap pit stop and get out ahead. I think we're going to see Perez goal hang again. Red Bull team need more concentrate on Perez. This team giving more concentration. Yeah, but so Sunder, why are they giving more focus to Max? Because Max is putting in the performances, even when the car isn't quite up to the supreme performance we've seen over the last 2 years. Why would you put more into Perez when Max is the one doing the job for you? So, but anyway, that is the strategies, guys. Really interesting one. I think it's going to be something we need to keep an eye out on today. But let's have a look at the tyre allocations, because this is interesting in regards to those strategies. So you can see there instantly Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Norris, and excluding the ones on the right-hand side of your screen because they are further down the grid and outside the top 10. In the top 10, you have Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, and Norris, who have brand new sets of each tyre available to them. Perez, Russell, Hamilton, and Piastri do not, which is key. So they have a set of used tyres. So if we go onto this one here, this clearly shows what sets of tyres they've got, like how like if they're used or not. So you can see here Magnussen's got 3 brand new ones. I mean, this kind of displays it a little bit better. But yeah, Hamilton and Russell have got 4. So their tyres basically they are Hamilton and Russell used all of their new sets in qualifying, so they would have done at least 3 laps on those tyres, whereas Verstappen has a brand new set, Leclerc has a brand new set, Sainz, and that could be important. That could be important, especially under like a safety car restart. So, am I rooting for? I'm rooting for Lewis Hamilton today. I am massively rooting for Lewis Hamilton. It all comes down to driver error, and Perez has made quite a few of them, definitely. Aston's used medium and harder on purpose. Yeah, but Aston are just outside the top 10 though, aren't they? Well, Alonso's into P10 now because of the penalty from Perez starting 11th, which we'll soon get the data up. Sam, you have good news. Intuition says that Hamilton will win this race. Something horrible will happen on track and put Hamilton in the lead. I hope nothing horrible happens on track because I think we're in for a good race today. I think Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes, I think they've got good race pace. Don't rule out the Ferraris as well. They're also in a good position. On the 3rd row, they've got 2 drivers at their disposal as well. They can try and force the issue. So, pole is one thing, winning the race is another. The Max factor. Max will play the mind game. Potentially. Magnussen should auction his soft. Yeah, he'd get a fair few, wouldn't he? And Hulk. Oh yeah, Magnussen's the only one with 3 new sets. So I think Magnussen will go for the 3 stopper. Why wouldn't you? Starting down the bottom. So Albon apparently is starting from the pit lane, guys. He has changed elements of his PU, so yeah, he'll be starting from the pit lane. Not that it really matters. He was in 19th anyway. Logan Sargent did get a 3-place grid penalty yesterday for the. He did get a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Lance Stroll in Q1, which means he starts. Well, he will start 19th because his teammate is starting from the pit lane, and he'll stay 19th. Who's going to be the fastest speed? Well, they'll all be very quick, won't they? Morning, Teco. Early. I like the commitment. Buddy. Yeah, welcome everyone. Hope you're doing well. Not long until this race gets underway. Thank you for the subs that have been coming in as well. Much appreciated. Obviously, Adrian, thank you for joining the pit crew. We have 20 minutes until this race gets underway. Just looking at the strategies and also a little bit of a weather report for you here. So this is important, guys. Take a screenshot of this if you'd like, but this is the pit stop lost time. 22.5 seconds under green flag is the gap. So if you're when we're looking at gaps for drivers to pit, this is what we're going to be keeping an eye on, the 22.5 second interval time. That's what those drivers at the front are definitely going to be looking at, especially like the likes of Verstappen, Lando, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, getting out in a gap ahead of those behinds, because no doubt they'll be building up a gap pretty soon. We have safety car. So you can see there a safety car or a VSC pit stop. That's what we talk about, a cheap pit stop, because everyone is going at a reduced speed around the track. When you come in and pit, you don't lose as much time as when everyone is going at full speed. So it is 12.5 seconds a safety car or a VSC pit stop. So that's 10 seconds made under the safety car. And then a red flag, well, red flag's red flag, we know that. But 40% chance of rain. 40% chance of rain. At the moment it is sunny, but we do know at Barcelona that the weather can change pretty quickly because of how windy it is over there. And it is supposedly quite windy. Join the pit crew, we're awesome, yeah. Half the time, yeah. Lando and Max in the same car, same track, conditions, who wins? I think that's difficult to tell. I think at the moment you would probably say Max, but look, that's ifs and buts, isn't it? Because we've potentially kind of got that today. The cars are very similar on pace, aren't they? They're very similar on pace, the McLaren and the Red Bull at the moment. So yeah, we're going to have a good race on our hands today. Everyone will be looking at the gap to the Alpines for the undercut. Only Sargent could get a grid improvement after taking a penalty. That is true. That is very true. I could confirm everyone who was in the pit crew is 100% super duper, yeah. Just saying people with money are... If the wind's picked up the rain, probably coming. Yeah, so we'll see, we'll see. So that is basically it for the strategy, guys. Supposedly the data is up and available to get ready. So I'm just going to change seat. So yeah, interesting strategies in store for us today, especially if it comes down with rain. That'd make things even more interesting, wouldn't it? Are we potentially going to get like a Montreal-esque race? Right, so got this up here. Right, we can go back now. Wasn't long, but I had to keep an eye on this. Where am I going? Sectors. Cool, cool, cool. There we go. Just minute changes. Just minute changes. So let's move chat back down here. Let's move you guys back down here where you belong. There we go, guys. There we go. Hopefully that's all good for you. Everything's A-okay. We can see all the info there that we need. Bosh, ready to go. Ready to go. Oh, Jesus, nearly just knocked my light over. Who would win, Prime Schumacher or Prime Max Verstappen? It'd be very close because Max has got very good raw pace. Michael Schumacher had that as well. It's very, I feel like there's not really. I'm very much am one of those who's. I think it's kind of. You can't compare sports people from different eras. So I'm a big golf fan. I love my golf, and it's the same as when people compare Tiger Woods to Jack Nicklaus. Two very different eras. The game was completely different, and they both dominated like their respective eras in golf. Tiger Woods is still playing, of course, but kind of say his era is over with. And it's the same with motorsport as well. Like they're all very good and they're all great drivers in their own right, in their respectable eras. So, which would Sky charge you if you put Sky Live on your network? I would be banned from YouTube. I'd get done for copyright instantly if I did that. So, yeah, not long till this race gets underway, guys. So, yeah, not long. At the moment, 600 votes in the stream, on the poll for the Spanish GP. Who will win? At the moment, 38% of you say Lando Norris, 34% Verstappen, 22% say Hamilton, and I could only fit in. I only get 4 options in the poll, which is a bit silly. So. Russell and Leclerc, 6%. So, yeah, not many have hope for Russell or Charles Leclerc. But interesting there, multi-viewer, the reports we're getting in, 20% chance of rain. So that's come down. That's halved down to 20%. But the wind is quite high, 6 miles an hour, southwesterly winds. So that could play a factor. Greg Norman was the man in the 80s. Yeah, he was pretty decent. But Nick Faldo was also pretty good. And Seve Ballesteros as well, so... it's tough because Michael had huge input into the technical development as well. Yeah, they're all great in their own right. How long till the race starts? About 15 minutes, I think. 15 minutes on the hour. Wherever you are in the world, on the hour, regardless of time zone, is when this race is going to get underway. Hey, Tom. Good to see you, mates. Good to see you. But yeah, I think we're in for a cracker race here. I'm really excited for the Barcelona Grand Prix. I normally don't say that. Barcelona can always be a bit of a damp squib. I hope that's not the case today. I think we're in store for a very interesting race. Of course, Lando Norris in pole position, Max Verstappen in second. This is the First time since 2012 that we've had 4 consecutive races with 4 different pole position, with 4 different drivers on pole position from 4 different teams. That's the first time since 2012. 12 years ago was the last time that happened. That is how crazy it's been. So yeah, we've gone from Ferrari. We've had Max Verstappen pole position in Imola. We had Charles Leclerc on pole in Monaco. We had George Russell on pole in Montreal. And now we've got Lando Norris on pole in Barcelona. McLaren just got the best upgrade this year. They've made massive improvements, yeah. Yeah, I've said this before. I did not think we were going to get this close a racing at this stage of the season. I thought we might be lucky to get it towards the end of the season. I thought Red Bull would still be very dominant, especially when you look at the start of the season of how dominant Max was, and Perez as well, just securing those 1-2s. And then, I mean, yeah, they've made massive strides. Now, people think it's because Red Bull have got worse. It's not because Red Bull's got worse. Like, these cars are quicker than they were last year. Like, pole position yesterday was, what was it, an 11.3, was it? Something like that? These cars are a second quicker than they were last year. It's just that the other teams have now caught up to Red Bull. Red Bull got it so right at the start of this regulation change, and the other teams got it so wrong. That's why the dominance was so, like, it's the most dominant period in F1 we've ever had. It's combined with that. And now the teams have, like, we're in the 3rd year, they've got closer, but I don't think anyone expected that they were going to get this close this soon. Maybe lucky at the end of the year, give us a bit of excitement for 2025, but wow. I mean, still got like, what, 17 races left, 16 races left after this? Like, it's boding very well, Yeah, just because Red Bull developing next car. No, they're not just developing next car. Whilst Albon is starting from the pit lane. Yeah, Albon had to take some PU changes to his car, so that's why he's starting down in 20th position. So, yeah, going to be, I think, a bit of a lonely race for him. He'll be hoping for a safety car to bunch up the pack. I don't think there was any post-race penalties. Sergio Perez there is the only one from his grid penalty that he received from Montreal last week. So he got 3-place grid penalty, which is why he's down in 11th. And Ocon, Piastri and Alonso have been bumped up a position. So yeah, Gasly and Ocon lining up alongside each other is intriguing. I expect Piastri, the McLaren has good pace, so Piastri struggled this weekend, made a mistake in turn 12 and dips a wheel into the gravel, which is why he had to bail out of his lap. He's down in 9th, so I expect him to be aggressive and make some positions up at the start, so it might be fun watching him try and fight his way through the field. But likewise, McLaren might try and make him go long. It'd be interesting to see the strategy they take with Piastri being out of position. I think it might be beneficial for them to start him on the medium compound tyre so that he can goal hang potentially for a safety car and come in and help his teammate. We'll see. Dr. Helmet said it all. They all copy RB and McLaren does it best of all. Well, yeah, I mean, that's always the case, though. Like, you look at the best. There are still parts of other cars that teams have done very well, probably better than Red Bull throughout this regulation set. However, they haven't been able to get the parts all working together. And McLaren have now taken inspiration, yeah, for Red Bull. You look at the best teams and you look at what they're doing and you try and copy it to an extent and make it work on your concept. And yeah, we're starting to kind of see that come to fruition. But the other cars are still kind of unique looking in their own right, though, aren't they? So they're not carbon copies of Red Bull, but they do definitely take inspiration, that's for sure. What's the weather like? 20% chance of rain, Akano. 20% chance of rain. So yeah, not as high as we initially were predicting. It looks like the rain has moved away. However, it is a windy circuit at the moment. You can see there the wind has increased from 6 miles an hour. Just in the 5 minutes I've been talking, it's gone from 6 miles an hour to 7.5 miles an hour. So that wind direction, if that changes, rain could come in pretty quickly. And of course, that's pretty windy for these F1 cars. They're very sensitive, of course, to the aero. And there's quite a lot of elevation changes at this circuit that I don't think people kind of underestimate. So different areas of the circuit can be more susceptible to, yeah, I think it's the middle sector which it really rises in sorry, what's the right word? It really rises in height. I've just actually had a brain fart there, and yeah, you can become more susceptible to the winds down into normally turn 5, turn 7, up into turn 9 can normally throw these cars off a little bit. So, what's the prediction? So I'm going for a Lewis Hamilton win. It's bold, guys. I'm going for a Lewis Hamilton win. I've just had a feeling about Lewis all weekend before we even came into this weekend. And I'm sticking with that gut feeling. I think Lando will be second, and I think Max will be third. I think Mercedes are going to do something here today, but is going to make the race very interesting. I could be completely wrong. I'd love to see Lando win this race. I would love to see him win it. Yeah, only won his first race in F1 not too long ago at Miami, and look, a few races later, wins his second. So it would be great to see. But I think we're in store for a good race. Ferrari could do something here. Ferrari, if they show the pace over the race distance, they could do something here, not being too far behind in 5th and 6th, with 2 drivers at their disposal. Piastri, it's key for him to get onto the back of the Ferraris and quickly clear the Alpines in front of him. But they're no slouches. They've been going quite well. So, yeah. But at the moment, you think Merc are pretty strong? Yeah, I think they're balanced. We looked at the sector times yesterday in qualifying, and of course qualifying is very different to race pace, but they look very balanced. They were up there in the timing sheets on all sectors. So yeah, there wasn't really a sector that they were particularly slow at. They was up there in the top 5 in all of them, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Hardly anything to separate them yesterday, just a couple of hundredths. But at the moment, over 830 votes, and Lando Norris is pipping Max Verstappen. Well, actually, it keeps changing. It keeps changing from Lando to Max, Lando to Max. It cannot be split who is going to win this race. So Hamilton 21%, Charles Leclerc and George Russell 6%. So yeah, no one really thinks anyone outside the top 3 is going to win this race. But yeah, it's going to be a good one, that's for sure. And we don't have long to go, guys. Just over 5 minutes time, we will find out, of course, what tyres they're going to be starting on as well, which is going to be interesting to see. Is there going to be mixed strategies here? I think there's going to be from drivers like Piastri and Perez going long at the start. I think they're going to go on that medium compound tyre at the start, but I do expect everyone up from Piastri to start on the soft compound tyre. But yeah, let's see what this race has in store for us. What's the call if they turn that one red flag? Does it change strategy? It would change strategy because they'd be able to. I mean, would it? It would only make them change to another set of tyres. They might even keep the same set of tyres on because this is such... We wouldn't have a Monaco situation if they was able to change tyres from an early red flag, as an example, because or a safety car, because they it's such a high loaded circuit. There's a lot of energy put through the tyres here, and it's always going to be a 2-stop race. So. Yeah, I don't think in this modern era of F1 car, with how heavy they are and how much load they put through the tyres, I don't think you can make a one-stop work anymore at this circuit. The track temp is over 41 degrees as well. 2021, I think, was the last time we probably saw an actual one-stop try to work. But yeah, this is generally just a standard 2-stop race now, bordering on a 3-stopper. A technical commentary and race broadcasting. Maybe one day, Scott, maybe one day. But I enjoy doing these watch-alongs, guys. I enjoy doing them, and we have over 1,000 of you here in the stream, and we are only moments away, a few minutes away until the Spanish Grand Prix gets underway. If we could hit 26,000 subs today, that'd be amazing, guys, as well. If you haven't subbed already, please hit the subscribe button. That figure at the top right hand of your screen, that's what we need to get to. I'd like to see that ticking over. It'd be much appreciated because it does help continue to build this great community here. And also, if you'd like to sponsor these streams, these watch-along streams moving forward. We have a number of races still to go in this season. 16, I think, if my maths is correct or my memory serves me right. Feel free to get in contact with me. My email is in the description below. So, yeah, always looking to bring people up with me. So, right. I think the sauce will actually be horrible in this first stint, Warren. Maybe, but the grip at the start is key. The grip at the start is key. We'll see. We will see. Not long to go. The wind is keep an eye on that wind miles per hour. That wind measure is what I'm going to say. I was going to say windmometer or whatever it is. That's just a made-up word, isn't it? At the top of your screen there, next to track clear, it's going up from 4.9 to around anything from 7.5. And here, oh, what the hell are Mercedes doing? What's a Mercedes doing? Why? Why is Lewis on 8-lap medium tyres to start this race? Oh, no, he's not. Oh, thank God for that. Oh, thank God for that. Oh, thank God for that. I was losing my mind. I was like, no, don't do it, Mercedes. That would have been pure sabotage. That would have been pure sabotage. Oh, God. So, everyone, and I'm surprised here, everyone, barring Alex Albon, who's starting in the pit lane, starting on a soft compound tyre. Wow. So I guess the reason for this is because if there is a safety car at the start, it probably allows you to go on to, like, if there's an early safety car or a red flag or something, you don't want to be out there on a set of mediums, I guess. The soft compound tyre allows you that flexibility to choose the remainder of your stint. That middle stint, you could go to a hard or a medium, or you can end on a hard or medium as well. So yeah, interesting this, guys, interesting. Take a paracetamol, I'll be all right. Oh, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't, because Mercedes do have history, guys, of putting Lewis Hamilton on a harder compounder tyre to try and do the alternative strategy, and it never works. Lewis doesn't like it, and it never works. But you can see there, interesting as well, Max Verstappen starting on a used set of soft compound tyres, so 3 laps old, same as Lewis, same as Russell. The 2 Ferraris on set of new tyres. Lando Norris, McLaren, wanting, of course, understandably, to use that extra grip that he has available to him, or maximise that grip available to him, with a brand new set of soft compound tyres at the start of this race. It's a very long run down into turn 1. The slipstream is going to be key here. Hamilton and Russell, sometimes P1 isn't necessarily always the greatest place to be starting, so a good start for Lando is essential. So that's a great decision by the McLaren. But yeah, everyone's starting on the softs. I did think someone a little bit further down the field, like Perez, like Piastri, who's out of position, might try something a little bit different and goal hang potentially for a safety car. But yeah, they haven't done so. We'll see. That leaves the rest of the race open for interpretation with the hard and medium compound tyre of pretty much every top team has available to them. So we could see all 3 compounds used this race, guys. But here we are, formation lap, moments away from this race getting underway. Ooh. Let's go. So today, guys, I'm gonna end this poll. I've ended it. There we go. Who is over 1,000 votes? And we have Max Verstappen pipping Lando Norris with 36% of the votes that he will win the Spanish GP. Lando Norris 35%, Hamilton 21%, and then Russell and Leclerc 6%. So yeah, we definitely can see there it's pretty much between neck and neck between Verstappen and Norris, who we think is going to win this race today. I'm still sticking with my guns, but it is Lewis Hamilton. But let's have a rundown of this grid, guys, one last time before we start this Spanish GP. Lando Norris is your pole sitter for the first time since Sochi in 2021. Max Verstappen in P2. Lewis Hamilton lining up in third, beating George Russell only for the second time this season in qualifying. George Russell in fourth, Leclerc and Sainz in fifth and sixth. Keep an eye on the Ferraris today. Gasly and Ocon, a good performance from those two. Ocon getting promoted an extra position because of Perez's free place grid penalty, is in a line-up alongside his teammate in 7th and 8th. Piastri in P9, Alonso in 10th. Perez with his free place grid penalty in 11th. Bottas 12th, Hulkenberg 13th. Lance Stroll 14th. Zhou Guanyu in 15th, Kevin Magnussen 16th, who has 3 brand new sets of softs available to him today. I might expect a bold strategy, a free stopper potentially from Magnussen in the Haas. Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo in 17th and 18th. Sargent in 19th, and Alex Albon starting from the pit lane, the only driver to start on the medium compound tyre, as he had some component changes to his PU. But we are moments away here, guys, from the Spanish GP. They are lining up here. It's a very long run down into T1. Who is going to come out first? Is there going to be drama at the start of this race? These cars are much bigger, they're heavier, they're larger, the biggest in F1 history, but also some of the quickest in F1 history as well. And yeah, that just provides some great drama. Hopefully it is a clean-cut race for us. But if the previous races are anything to go by, we are in for a good one. So here we go, guys. Moments away. Logan Sargent bringing up the rear, as he so often does. Unfortunately, Logie Bear there. And here he is, lined up. It'll be lights on. And it's green light, and away we go. Lando Norris seems to have got a pretty decent start there, but of course it's a long slipstream down into turn 1. Max Verstappen alongside there already as they're side by side, but the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, oh no, George Russell all the way through as Lewis Hamilton bogged down, and George Russell is first. George Russell has gone past both his teammate Norris and Verstappen, and done a Fernando Alonso all those years ago from 4th position up into 1st, and that's an unbelievable start from George Russell as Norris and Hamilton's regaining position from Charles Leclerc there, but George Russell is leading this race up 3 positions into turn 1. Unbelievable from the Mercedes there. Max Verstappen in P2, Norris in P3, Hamilton P4. The 2 Ferraris are holding station at the moment. A good start from Nico Hulkenberg, up 3 positions as well. Tsunoda's gained a couple, as is Logan Sargent on Daniel Ricciardo, as Alex Albon's now trudging up the pit lane. But let's have a look at the restart at the start of this race as George Russell's actually pulling away. So Max Verstappen and Lando Norris were so preoccupied on each other, but George Russell just absolutely double slipstreamed them both and went round the outside into turn 1. Unbelievable start from him, absolutely channeling his inner Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton, not a great start from him, but he was able to recover and get back up into P4. So we're about to finish this first lap with George Russell, your leader of the Spanish Grand Prix, but with, of course, this very long run down into turn 1. Max Verstappen, no DRS activated at the moment, will be looking potentially at a move. No, not at the moment, but DRS is enabled this time around, no longer having to wait 2 laps for DRS to become activated. So Russell, if George Russell can't pull out a gap of over a second, he will be vulnerable down into turn 1, you would think. But importantly, Lando Norris not quite staying with Verstappen at the moment, just losing a little bit of a gap there as Hamilton, you can see the front 4 here, already putting out a gap to Charles Leclerc in P5, who is the only driver on this grid at the moment as it stands, not in the DRS of the driver ahead. So they will get DRS as they head out of turn 9 down into turn 10. Not really much of an overtaking opportunity anymore, guys. It is primarily lining yourself up, positioning yourself for, of course, that exit through turn 13 and 14 down to the first corner. But what an unbelievable start that was for George Russell. Max Verstappen and Lando Norris were so preoccupied with each other. George Russell was the only one who got a slipstream out of both of them, and there was a gap to the left-hand side. He went across pretty much the whole width of the circuit and just swooped round the outside. It was proper commitment from him. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, not starting the race very well, but has recovered and is now in P4. So here we go, Max Verstappen, DRS open, down into turn 1. Is he going to have an opportunity and actually get the move done before they even head into turn 1? And he does. Max Verstappen is leading this race down for the first time, and is 3 laps, and he's in the lead. Now, will George Russell be able to stay with him? Of course, it is a very, very long start-finish straight or run from turn 13 down to turn 1. And if George Russell can stay within the DRS of Max Verstappen, he might be able to regain that place. But Lewis Hamilton wasn't able to get past Lando Norris, who did have DRS on Max in front, only just. But you can see there, Carlos Sainz now ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc, racing at his home circuit. Charles Leclerc didn't have DRS, and Sainz was easily able to breeze past. Piastri has made quick work of Esteban Ocon. He is now up into 8th position. Gasly going quite nicely, sticking with the 2 Ferraris. You can see here that Max Verstappen is already pulled out the DRS, just outside of the DRS of George Russell. So this could potentially leave George Russell vulnerable to Lando Norris. But remember, we have seen in the past Lando Norris just be a little bit more patient in the first stint with his tyres and not force the issue too much. But this is now obviously up to Max Verstappen to build this gap on the 3 drivers behind him. You can see there Lando Norris in the DRS. Hamilton has it as well, as he just dropped back a little bit out of that last sector. Norris not going to have enough down into turn 1, but a good lap time from Max Verstappen there, a 19.3 compared to everyone behind who are just in the 20s. But you can see a considerable gap forming up between Verstappen, Russell, Norris and Hamilton. Sainz trying to close in on Lewis Hamilton, 1.5 seconds back at the moment. Nico Hulkenberg ahead of Sergio Perez, of all people. Perez is where he started, a 21.8 last time for him. He is on a set of used compound tyres though, but so is pretty much everyone else around him also. It's all aboard the Perez train. I wonder if maybe he's got a bit of contact, or is this just Perez? Is this just Perez, guys? Let's be honest. He is up there in P11 with Fernando Alonso down 2 positions as well, just ahead of his teammate in 12th and 13th. Bottas was one of the Stake F1 cars, 2 of the biggest losers at the start of the race, down there in 14th and 17th position. Yuki Tsunoda made a good start up into 15th. Magnussen, where he started. Ricciardo's now regained a position on Logan Sargent, and we can see here that Alex Albon has joined the back of this train on the medium compound tyres. So the stewards, no further investigation of Lando Norris forcing Max Verstappen off the track at the start. But as we are 5 laps now, or on our 5th lap of this 66 lap race, guys, George Russell is under attack from Lando Norris, but Lando just seems to be biding his time patiently as they head down into turn 1. Even without DRS, you can see there how effective the tow is. Even from over a second back, George Russell is gaining on Max Verstappen slightly. That is how effective the tow is here at Barcelona. But you would think that Lando, is he going to be thinking about getting past George Russell so that he can put some pressure on Max Verstappen? Or is he just thinking, as he has done in previous races, as we mentioned, just biding his time in this first stint and then going on that charge later on in this race? It's a very long race. We have 2 laps. It looks like Sainz is being noted for gaining an advantage to lap turn 1 incident. Not entirely sure who that was on. Was that on his teammate Charles Leclerc, of all people? Or maybe that's because he didn't go around the designated cone area that is required if they go off circuit at turn 1. That might be why he has been noted for gaining an advantage there. But yeah, very long race here in front of us, guys. 2-stop race is predicted. Rain is 20%. You can see that wind, the anemometer, as someone correctly pointed out to me in the chat, is 7.6 miles per hour at the moment, so it has increased here. But look at the time from George Russell. Is he gaining as he heads down into turn 1? Yes, all the way back from all the way back there. So he gains about a tenth from even 1.2 seconds back. Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton just biding their time. But wow, what a start! They're showing a replay of George Russell, and what a start it was for him to get into the lead. Really, really good from him. As Lewis Hamilton had a poor start but regained the position back from the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and that is where we are at the moment with the front 4. Sainz slightly gaining a bit on Hamilton, it seems, 1.3 seconds back, but we might not see any moves at the moment, but George Russell and that they don't want to think about losing Max Verstappen too much in this race. Of course, they want to probably save a bit of their tyres, but they can't allow Max to get too far ahead. But we'll see. But Gasly doing a very good job, guys. Alpine fans out there staying with Charles Leclerc. Piastri not gaining so much last time around. A 20.7 from Pierre Gasly. He's lapping the same times as Ferrari. Of Alpine sorted out their issues, guys. Didn't expect them to be this bad. I mean, Gasly, in the grand scheme of things, is only 6 seconds, just over 6 seconds back from Max Verstappen, as that gap has now gone to 1.4 seconds, or 1.5 seconds from Max Verstappen to George Russell. But Norris and Hamilton have DRS. Carlos Sainz doesn't. Charles Leclerc has DRS on his teammate. Gasly also has it as well to help him stay within the tow of the two Ferraris ahead. But no one making moves just yet, I guess. They're going to be waiting for this first round of pit stops, which no doubt will not be too long away. Oh, they'll show him again at the finish line. No, I don't think so. 1.3, just dipped to 1.3 seconds there. So just watching the replay with Sainz and Leclerc, and Sainz went round the outside of Charles Leclerc, and there was a bit of contact, and that's why they're detailing why Carlos Sainz gained an advantage. I can see why the stewards are looking at it, but I think he was far enough ahead at the point of the apex, and Charles Leclerc just tapped his rear wheel, which is why he had to take to the escape road. We'll see if the stewards... no further investigation. There we go. Just as I am speaking there and looking at the TV coverage, Carlos Sainz, no further investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. But big thank you for all the subs coming in as well, guys. Much appreciated. If we could get to 26,000 today, that would be absolutely amazing. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and hit the like button also. Let's get to 1,000 likes. 272 likes already. It'd be much appreciated. So let's have a look at the front as it stands. Max Verstappen is your leader from George Russell, Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. George Russell swooped round both Verstappen and Norris at the start of the race, gaining 3 positions from 4th place up into 1st, but then he got overtaken by Max Verstappen 2 laps later with the assistance of DRS. So it seems that Max Verstappen trying to build up a gap on George Russell, Lando Norris and Hamilton in the early stages of this race. 8 laps now. We're on 8 laps now, 7 laps completed. And George Russell is losing a bit of time to Max, I think, in the middle sector, but staying pretty comfortably with him in the first and last sector. But Norris and Hamilton not making moves on George Russell or Norris ahead of him at the moment. But what this is doing is it's allowing Sainz and Leclerc to join as well. So this front three, this front three of Russell, Norris and Hamilton, excluding Verstappen at the moment, as it's now gone out to 2 seconds. We need to be careful because the Ferraris are about to join this fight, and it might get a bit punchy in the, I was going to say midfield, but it's not. It's the pack up front. It'll be from B2 down to B6, 5 cars. Not far separated from each other, that's for sure. But at the moment, Max Verstappen is putting out a lead here on George Russell. Hang on. Just listen to the Sky Report, guys. Hang on. So George Russell potentially pushing more than others, guys. So we'll see. We'll see how he's getting on. Of course, he is leading out front at the moment of Norris, Hamilton, Sainz, and Leclerc. As Sainz just got within the DRS range of Lewis Hamilton and probably will at the end of this lap, most likely. Why can't Norris catch up with a fresher tyre? Because he's just biding his time now. So you have to race the race. You have to adapt to the race that is in front of you. Norris ideally would like to be out up front, but he's not. So with 2 more stops available in this race, most likely to occur in this race, Lando Norris, which he's done supremely in the previous races, is that he bides his time, he saves his tyres in the initial first stint, and then he comes on strong at the end of a stint. And no doubt this is what we're seeing from Lando Norris at the moment. They're quite comfortable with Max Verstappen being out front as much as he is at the moment. Otherwise, I think you would probably see Lando Norris try and force the issue and get ahead of George Russell. As we can see, Hamilton did lose a bit of time there to Lando, dipped outside of the DRS, but has been able to maintain it. As you see there, Norris, Hamilton, Sainz and Leclerc all within the DRS of each other, as Piastri has now gotten to the back of Gasly as he's fallen away from the Ferraris. And is Piastri going to make a move here down into T1? Very, very close. Isn't able to quite get it done. You'd think it's only a matter of time of Piastri in this McLaren getting past Gasly, and then he'll be able to join the back of Leclerc. And remember, guys, you need a 22.5 second gap, really. So Max Verstappen, there's no way that Max, I think, is going to be able to build a full... he's definitely not going to be able to build a 22-second free pit stop to the guys behind. But we can see here that Joe and Tsunoda are in the pit. This is very early from these two, trying to get out into some clean air, potentially. Let's see what tyres these two come out on. They come out on the medium compound tyres. So we've only lasted 9 laps before teams have started to pull the trigger and do the undercut. Joe and Tsunoda, of course, were a little bit out of position, maybe stuck in traffic there. They pitted from behind Magnussen, so we'll see if the undercut for them will work. I assume it will do with the free air that they have in front of them. So they've gone on to the mediums. Perez is still not able to overtake Nico Hülkenberg, by the way. His lap times, Sergio Perez, 21.4 last time out compared to Nico Hülkenberg's 21.6. So he's only just slightly faster than that of the Haas. And he's lapping around the same pace of Oscar Piastri, who's stuck behind Pierre Gasly. So let's see if Piastri's going to have another move. But Sainz, Hamilton has dropped back a little bit from Lando Norris and lost the DRS, it seems. So Hamilton falling off a little bit now at the stage of this race. So maybe he'll come into the pit soon and try and get some free air and be the first to pull the undercut. But you can see there, Joe, on a fresh set of tyres as Magnussen comes into the pit lane, has set the fastest first middle sector out of anyone on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Piastri not able to close up the gap on Gasly last time out, and is a little bit stuck, but we'll see if he's able to get past him. If he can, you think it'll be only a matter of time until he's able to close in on the gap with the two Ferraris up ahead of him with Russell, Norris, Hamilton. The gap to Russell and Verstappen is 2.7 seconds now. Lando Norris has DRS on George Russell. Hamilton does not have it, importantly, on Lando Norris. Not that it's too important in the middle sector. It's mostly important through the third sector that you need the DRS, of course, with the long run through turn 13, 14, and down into turn 1, guys. Hey, game, I can see you. Wow, Sergeant is not last yet. It'll be for a brief period of time. As Nico Hülkenberg is leaving the track and gaining advantage, is being investigated at turn 5 of all places. So that's very interesting. That's an odd place for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So we'll see what occurs there. But at the moment, the front 6 are as they are. Oscar Piastri has just fallen back a little bit from Pierre Gasly. Not entirely sure why that is, as Magnussen has come out behind Yuki Tsunoda, as there's a potential move from Kevin Magnussen on Yuki Tsunoda through turn 10 there. Are we going to see the first overtake through the middle sector? And we are, as they're going side by side. Kevin Magnussen just out of the pit lane, and he's been able to maintain the position on Yuki Tsunoda. But you'd think Yuki Tsunoda, with the DRS available to him, as they head through turn 14 down to the first corner, this is not over and done with by any means. At the moment, they are fighting for 19th position, but we know that is not the case, with drivers still yet to make their pit stops, as Valtteri Bottas has got out ahead of Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda. But Yuki Tsunoda is coming straight back at Kevin Magnussen as they head into turn 1. We know that Kevin Magnussen has issues, shall we say, with overtaking, and they're still side by side. They went, they chop, they change, and Magnussen still ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. But this is not over by any means as they head down into turn 4, as Yuki Tsunoda comes back at Kevin Magnussen round the outside, and Kevin Magnussen holds on to it, and for around half a lap there, Kevin Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda went side by side. Unbelievable racing from the both of them. As we speak, Kevin Magnussen is being investigated for a false start. Unbelievable fight there for 19th position. But we know that's not for 19th position, as they will be the drivers ahead of them, the likes of Albon, the likes of Stroll, Ricciardo. They are still yet to make a pit stop as Nico Hülkenberg comes into the pit lane. But very, very great fight from Yuki Tsunoda and Magnussen, two of the hardest racers out there. We know that Magnussen, I think, is still on if he gets one more penalty or free point penalties, penalty points, he will have a race ban. So every time Magnussen goes wheel to wheel, there is always that risk. But I think the undercut of Zhou has worked very well indeed, as he has promoted himself up into 17th position. He's definitely gained positions, I think, on Tsunoda and Magnussen there with the undercut of Tsunoda. After that battle with Kevin Magnussen is now slightly back, dropped back from the Haas. So yeah, great racing from the two of them. Yet to see it actually. They didn't even show it on the TV coverage, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So the TV direction that you're seeing did not show the fight between Yuki Tsunoda and Kevin Magnussen. Even though it's for 19th position, they did not show it. So that's very disappointing, to be honest with you. But yes, here we are. So Max Verstappen, let's have a look at the start. Well, they're now showing it. They're now showing a replay of Sergio Perez making an easy DRS pass on Nico Hülkenberg. Unbelievable. That's not the fight you want to see. But let's have a look at the status of this race as we're starting to see pit stops now from Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon. Max Verstappen had a bit of a moment through turn 7. Very much did so with the rear of the car stepping out. So Max Verstappen 3.3 seconds currently ahead of George Russell in P2, Lando Norris P3, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton in P4. The top 4 drivers no longer have DRS on one another. Carlos Sainz in the DRS of Lewis Hamilton in 5th, who got ahead of his teammate down into turn 1 with only about 4 laps into this race. Zhou has been overtaken by Bottas there. A change of team orders probably with a difference in strategy. Bottas on the soft, Zhou on the medium. But we can see that Leclerc, yes, in P6. Gasly, 3.5 seconds back from Charles Leclerc. He's been able to hold off the charge in Piastri, who is having to drop back by the looks of it. Maybe he's taken too much life out of these tyres in the early stages of this race, trying to make up positions starting from 9th place. He's only up 1 position, so it's not the biggest of gains for Oscar Piastri. We do know that he goes very heavy with his driving style and takes the life out of his tyres a lot quicker than others, as he is released by Pierre Gasly as he drops into the pits. His teammate came in before him onto the medium compound tyre. Perez came out into P15, but of course the likes of Sargent, Albon, Ricciardo still yet to pit, and Alonso as well. But yeah, let's see where Gasly comes out. He's going to be overtaken. He was ahead of his teammate Ocon, so is Ocon going to be doing the undercut on his teammate here? Is it going to be teammates? 2 Alpine drivers go down into the first corner side by side. We know there's no love lost between them, and Ocon has got ahead of Pierre Gasly. Oh, that's not going to be a happy Pierre Gasly, and there's a 5-second time penalty for Kevin Magnussen for a false start. Oh no. Can it get any worse for Kevin Magnussen? And now they're being investigated for forcing another driver off the track. So supposedly in that fight, I'm still yet to see a replay of that fight on the TV coverage, which is unbelievable considering it went on for half a lap. Supposedly one driver there of Magnussen or Tsunoda has been forced off the circuit, and I'm going to put my odds on Kevin Magnussen being the driver to force Yuki Tsunoda off the circuit, as he did maintain the position. But here we go. Top drivers in now. Drivers from the top 4 are into the pit lane. It was a very slow pit stop by Pierre Gasly, by the way, 6.7 seconds, which is why Ocon has got out ahead of him. So it wasn't overly intentional. But George Russell and Carlos Sainz very close there in the pit lane. The first to pull the trigger here. Of course, there was a 3-bit second lead on the Max Verstappen had over George Russell, as George Russell and Carlos Sainz a very, very good pit stop by the Ferrari team, it seems, as Sainz has really closed up the gap there on George Russell. I'm waiting to see exactly if George Russell had a slow pit stop. Most likely did, I would assume, for the gap to be that close right now between Carlos Sainz and George Russell. I mean, he's in the DRS of George Russell. That is unbelievable there for the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Let's see, just watching the pit stops now, and was it a slow pit stop? It was a slow pit stop. The rear right tyre of George Russell was very, very slow to go on. A 5.3 second pit stop to George Russell and a 2.2 second pit stop for Carlos Sainz. They came out side by side of their pit boxes, and Sainz had to just concede the position to George Russell as they went down the pit lane. So 5.3 second stop for the Mercedes of George Russell. The right rear was slow to go onto the car. They struggled to get it on and was only just able to hold a position to Carlos Sainz. So that has massively benefited the likes of Lando Norris, who has now been released. Let's see if Lando has saved tyres and see if he can close up the gap on Max Verstappen ahead as Lewis Hamilton is into the pit lane. Let's see where he comes out and rejoins the circuit. And Lewis Hamilton has been undercut by Carlos Sainz. Hamilton has been undercut by Carlos Sainz. Was that another slow pit stop for the Mercedes team? We will see. Or was that just Lewis Hamilton, a very slow in-lap as Sergio Perez has got, is fighting with, we can see there, Alex Albon. He's got ahead of Alex Albon. Ricciardo into the pit lane now as well. But let's keep an eye on those lap times of Lando Norris. A 20.4 last time around. That was 8 tenths quicker than Max Verstappen. He now has clean air. Has he done what he's done previously in the races, where he has been able to just save his tyres and then go on? And just watching the stop, and it was a 2.3 second stop for Lewis Hamilton. So no, it was a very good pit stop for Lewis Hamilton. So the undercut is strong here, ladies and gentlemen, as Max Verstappen comes into the pits, as Lando Norris does not respond and continues and extends this stint. We'll see if he responds to this pit stop of the Red Bull, but I think they're seeing that the drop off of these tyres now, and how powerful the undercut is. You can see that Sainz was very, very quick, because he is now being held up by Stroll. And then Norris reporting, we need to go and get Max. We're not thinking about George Russell. And I totally agree with that. And we can see here Hamilton, who they're going side by side. You can't see there, but Lance Stroll is in the middle of Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton here. It's a freeway fight as they, apologies, Lance Stroll dipped into the pits. But Carlos Sainz was held up by Lance Stroll there. And that's allowed Hamilton to really close up as he's gone round the outside. Or he's going side by side through turn 2 there, or turn 3, as they head into turn 4. And Hamilton thought about it, and he's really troubling the back of the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz here. And, well, Lewis Hamilton on the medium compound tyre already looks more comfortable than he did at the early stages of this race on the soft compound. He is all over the back of him, and we'll see if he's able to make a move before they even get to the last sector, where we see the majority of the overtakes happen with the DRS down through the exit of turn 14 down into turn 1. But Lando Norris is the current leader, with Max Verstappen making a pit stop. He is in P4. He's on the medium compound tyre. Lando Norris does not come into the pits. He extends this first stint. Leclerc in P2, a 20.9 last time around, a 20.4 for Lando Norris. That was much quicker than Verstappen's lap before he pitted off of the soft compound tyre. So did Verstappen take too much out of his soft compound tyres at the early stage of this race? Remember, it was about an 8 tenths difference that lap before he came into the pits, a 21.2 compared to Norris's 20.4, but Norris has just done 2 laps in a row. So here we go, Hamilton. Is he going to have a move on Carlos Sainz? DRS open, down into turn 1. He's gaining. They're definitely side by side down into turn 1, but is Hamilton able to gain it? Maintain the position as they head through turn 2, and he's got the move done. Hamilton up into P6. He has got the move done on Carlos Sainz, and will now have his sights set on the rear wing of his teammate up ahead. And Lewis Hamilton already looking much more comfortable on this medium compound tyre than he was on the softs. Alex Albon into the pits now off of the medium compound tyre. We can see here that everyone now, barring Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, have yet to make a pit stop. Everyone has made a pit stop. Some are back onto the softs. We're seeing the splitting strategy here. We can see Perez has gone onto another set of soft compound tyres. Valtteri Bottas has as well. We'll see if Fernando Alonso does the same, or if he goes onto a set of mediums. Lando once again continues to extend this stint, a 20.6, so a 2 tenths slower last time around. Charles Leclerc, a 21.0. So Lando Norris, great move by great move by Lewis Hamilton on Carlos Sainz. Respectful from the both of them as they went into turn 1. We'll see if Carlos Sainz, there might have been a little bit of contact actually between both of them. But yes, Lewis Hamilton, fastest lap last time around, a 19.3. Much more comfortable on a fresh set of mediums than he was on a set of used. Fernando Alonso into the pit lane. Gasly and Ocon in 8th and 9th at the moment. Good positions for the Alpines, but they're being hunted by Perez on the softer compound tyre. Hulkenberg in 11th as he moves himself up. Bottas and Zhou have done very well. There was a slight bit of contact between Hamilton and Sainz as they went through turn 1, but it looked fair's fair, if you ask me. But Alonso, where is he coming out? Alonso going long on the initial first stint has lost quite a few positions as he comes out into 16th. But of course, he is on a fresh set of medium compound tyres compared to everyone else around him. As we see that Magnussen is on the back of Lance Stroll, of all people. They're reviewing the incident of Hamilton and Sainz. I do expect that there will be no... I'll be very... I mean, if they give a penalty for that initial very, very slight contact between Hamilton and Sainz there, both left room, I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be very, very harsh of the stewards. But you can see Lewis Hamilton gaining on his teammate there, 19.3 last time out. We'll see if that gap closes again at the end of this lap. 1.7, 1.8 seconds behind his teammate. Verstappen catching up to Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri needs to do a solid here and try and hold up Max Verstappen for as long as he can. But of course, there is a big tyre deficit between the two. Piastri on 23-lap-old softs and Verstappen on pretty much brand new medium compound tyres, so I don't think you'll be able to hold him up for long at all. But Norris last time around a 20.8, so we're starting to see a drop-off of this soft compound tyre by about 2 tenths per lap now, guys. So I imagine it won't be long until Lando Norris comes into the pits. As Max Verstappen goes round, makes a move on Oscar Piastri, but Oscar Piastri trying to defend it as they head down into turn 7, but Max Verstappen gets the move done down into turn 7 on the fresher medium tyres. And with that extra grip, he's able to drive round Oscar Piastri in that middle sector. Great move by Max. And, well, Piastri, how much time did Max Verstappen lose there? Every tenth is important here that his teammate, Lando Norris' teammate, can help him in just holding up Max, and that could be essential when it comes to the latter stages of this race. Ooh. This is getting interesting, guys. It's getting very interesting. So we're in the first phase. We're 22 laps into this race now. We have 45 laps yet to go. We still have another pit stop to make. So Piastri, after Max Verstappen going through, Sainz is saying any news. He's thinking that he might be able to get the position back from Lewis Hamilton. I don't think he will. They'd be very, 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 very harsh. I think it'd be completely wrong if they force Hamilton to give up that position to Sainz. But we can see that Piastri, after holding up Max Verstappen for as long as he could for the space of just 2 corners, he has come into the pit lane and made another pit stop. So he's on the mediums now, down in P11. But of course, big tyre deficit between those drivers up ahead of him. So he will no doubt regain that position and slot him probably behind the Ferraris after kind of the next round of pit stops. Tsunoda and Ricciardo, it's not a good weekend for the 2 V-Carb cars, is it? Down in 17th and 18th position. Likewise for the 2 Williams drivers as well. Reviewed, no further investigation for Hamilton and Sainz. That is the right decision, guys. That is definitely the right decision from what I saw. But we can see that Hamilton is gaining dramatically on his teammate there. 1.2 seconds back from George Russell now, where he was about about 2 seconds only a few laps ago. So Hamilton really pumping in the lap times. We could see pretty much equal lap times there, but the last few laps he did gain on his teammate. Maybe George Russell has just got the move on as he's seen his teammate in his rearview mirrors. Oscar Piastri made quick work of Nico Hulkenberg there down into turn 10. So he is now got his eyes set on Sergio Perez, who is on 12-lap-old soft compound tyres there in 9th position. Norris and Leclerc still yet to come in and pit. So they're telling Lando to just keep going. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. So there's lots of positivity on the McLaren radio at the moment to Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc, the Ferraris are seeming to try and stay with Lando Norris as well and go for this long first stint. But you can see there Charles Leclerc 21.4 last time around compared to Lando Norris's 20.9. So Lando, as we suggested and as I kind of predicted, because I'm a genius, guys. I'm a genius, ladies and gentlemen. Is that Lando Norris now into the pit lane. So Lando now into the pit lane, guys. Let's see what he does. He's obviously going to come out on the mediums. He will lose a position to Max Verstappen. He understands that, but of course we have varying strategies here. There is a 6-lap tyre delta between McLaren and Max Verstappen, and that will only benefit them as they come later on in this race. We have seen in the past drive and getting the move done. It is not necessarily a track where we haven't seen. It's not overly difficult to pass once when you've got like a good tyre delta, because of the nature of this circuit, of how much load is put into the tyres. So a difference of 5-6 laps can be absolutely instrumental and so important come the end of the race. So Lando Norris there coming out onto the medium compound tyres behind Carlos Sainz, but of course he'll have to make quick work of them. But Charles Leclerc, the only driver out there on the grid right now on track who is yet to make a pit stop. 23 laps on the soft compound tyres. Let's see if he comes in and responds. But George Russell is now 4.9 seconds back from Max Verstappen. We can see there that Hamilton did take out kind of another 10th on his teammate in P4. I wonder if there's team orders at play at the moment between those two. We are in the middle stage. We're not even halfway through this race yet. We still have 43 laps remaining. It is very much setting up to be an intriguing race on strategy, and no doubt will come out and be decided out on track later on with these different tyre deltas. But you can see there Charles Leclerc now into the pit lane. He will come out behind Lando Norris. Might even lose the position to Pierre Gasly here as he heads down into the first corner. But of course, Pierre Gasly 9 laps on these, or 10 laps now, he'll be on these medium compounds, as well as Ocon. And actually he's going to get out ahead of Ocon, which is important for him. And we've seen mediums, the fresh mediums, just set fast lap after fast lap. So very interesting, very interesting. Guys, if you could hit the like button, and we've got 400 likes in the stream right now. But importantly, if you could hit the subscribe button, that number at the top right hand of your screen, let's get that ticking over. Let's get that up to 26,000. I know there's around 80% of you who watch these streams and don't subscribe. It really does help the channel, really helps myself, and continue to build this great community we've got here. But yeah, appreciate every single one of you. Over 5,500 viewers in here right now. Appreciate you all for tuning in to what is shaping out to be a very interesting race. It's going to be intriguing, guys. We're trying to keep up to date with the strategies and what the drivers are doing and the teams are planning out. Everyone has now made a pit stop, but of course Max Verstappen, he is 5.6 seconds ahead of George Russell, and around 6 seconds ahead, or 7 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. But of course, Lando Norris has extended that first stint. He is now on the rear of Carlos Sainz there. You can see 18.5 last time around. Is he going to have an opportunity down into turn 1 on Carlos Sainz? No, but you do think with the extra grip that he has, he will be able to make a move on Sainz pretty sharpish. Carlos Sainz not too happy Carlos Sainz not happy about the no further investigation of Lewis Hamilton and himself into turn 1. But Lando will be looking to make short work of Sainz. This is Max, this race between, as it's shaping up at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, this is a race for the win between McLaren and the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. It doesn't look like it at the moment, but trust me, it is. There is a 6-lap tyre delta difference between the McLaren of Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. If he can make short work of Carlos Sainz, and no doubt with this tyre delta, get onto the back of the Mercedes and probably even overtake them, it's shaping up to be a very, very interesting last stint, that is for sure. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thanks for enjoying the stream. Hope you are. I appreciate everyone who keeps coming back in to these streams. So yeah, really important that we get the continued support. So thank you, guys. Right, so Lando Norris here he goes for the second time around. He's a bit closer to Carlos Sainz here, DRS open, and you can see there an easy overtake with the extra grip and the tyre delta that he has, those younger medium compound tyres that he has over Carlos Sainz. Easily gets the move done, and he will now have his sights set on Lewis Hamilton as Charles Leclerc, in the same breath, in the same corner, into turn 1, gets the move done easily on Pierre Gasly. A purple sector time for Lando Norris there into last time out with the assistance of DRS. So he is on fire at the moment, Lando Norris, as is Charles Leclerc also. So those two, keep an eye out on those to the end of this race. The two Mercedes of Russell and Hamilton, well, as it stands at the moment, well, Leclerc, with the extra pace that he has, potentially, if he can maintain it, We are in line with everyone else is what Leclerc just was reported with. So we'll see what happens with Leclerc. But I think Leclerc's got a good opportunity here, definitely to finish ahead of his teammate and maybe even sneak a podium position and fight that out with the Mercedes. But as I'm seeing it at the moment, I would definitely say that this race is between Norris and Verstappen. Hamilton and Russell, they just don't quite seem to have the race pace of the Red Bull or the McLaren, and they will be fighting out for the last podium position with the two Ferraris. So we'll see how that pans out. Of course, in the last stint, there is still, of course, the potential of a safety car. Quite a bit of field spread here, as you can see. So let's have a rundown of this grid as it stands out on track at the moment. We have Max Verstappen in P1 leading just over 6 seconds, 6.3, 6.4 seconds from George Russell, as Piastri gets ahead of Perez there, down into turn 1. The McLaren, who went really long on the first stint on his soft compound tyres, overtakes Perez, who is on his flailing second set of soft compound tyres. So Perez starting to drop back with 17 laps completed on those softs. But George Russell in P2, 6.5 seconds back from Max Verstappen. We see Hamilton is just behind his teammate, 1.4 seconds there, trying to obviously manage the tyres at this moment in the race. No need for those two to go fighting, but they have a charging Lando Norris, who is 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds behind Hamilton now, with the extra grip that he has with those 7-lap younger medium compound tyres. So no doubt it'll be an easy move for Norris once he eventually catches up to Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz in P5. Charles Leclerc, who extended that first stint, also a lap longer than Lando Norris, is in P6, who has 10 lap younger medium compound tyres than his teammate. 2 seconds nearly. 2 seconds the previous lap he was faster than his teammate. That time around it was just a 1 second, just a 1.1 seconds. We can see Gasly going very well in the Alpine in 7th position. He's managed to get himself ahead of Esteban Ocon after what was a very unfortunate slow pit stop. As Oscar Piastri ahead of Esteban Ocon now and charging through this midfield. He's back up into P8 where he pitted. He'll have his eyes set on the back of Gasly. He is lapping around 6 tenths faster than Gasly, but we're starting to see those early pitters who did the undercut now coming into the pit lane. Those Valtteri Bottas. Let's see what tyre he puts on. So Yuki Tsunoda's gone onto the hard compound. We're going to see, no doubt, Bottas go onto the hard compound as well. And let's see, will they be able to take this tyre to the end of the race? But that seems to be a very slow pit stop for Valtteri Bottas there. Is that a very slow pit stop for the Stake F1 team? We know they've had issues in the past, and it does seem that Valtteri Bottas was stationary there for a lot longer than he wanted to be. That's definitely what it seemed like on the track map, and he's now onto the hard compound tyres, but might have lost a bit of time there in the pit lane. And yeah, he's been royally screwed over this year, Valtteri Bottas, but with those pit stops, he's actually done not too bad of a job in the Stake F1 car, if you ask me, with, of course, the low performance that team has at the moment. But Perez now looking back at the back of Esteban Ocon. Let's see if he's able to get the move done here. DRS open, soft compound tyres compared to medium compound tyres. Perez gaining as they head down into turn 1. They're definitely going to be going side by side. We know that Ocon likes to get his elbows out as well. They head into turn 1 and Perez gets the move done quite comfortably on Esteban Ocon there. But will Ocon come back at him? We know that it's not over until you get really down to turn 5. Esteban Ocon, he can get punchy, but maybe he's struggling on those mediums compared to Perez on the softs. And of course we know that the Alpine doesn't quite have the performance of the Red Bull, even when it's in Perez's hands. And yes, Perez able to maintain that position. But still, as it stands, the two Alpines are in the top 10, and that'll be a great result for them, as a good few results for them, actually, as they seem to be on the ascendancy, which I don't think anyone kind of really predicted with the issues they've been having with management and kind of off track. But Hamilton now. Let's have a look at Lando Norris. 5 tenths back from his teammate. Hamilton doesn't have the DRS of his teammate. Let's see. Lando Norris, he's gaining. He's got DRS. Is he going to be able to get Hamilton down into the first corner? He's not. He's not able to dispatch Hamilton just yet. And is George Russell. Let's see what George Russell does. Is George Russell just going to drop back slightly and give his teammate the DRS? We will see. Or is he still more focused, of course, about Max Verstappen up ahead? It doesn't look. It did seem to be, but Hamilton had gained a bit and had to get a bit of a move on. I think he has been managing that gap to his teammate to kind of stay out of the dirty air and manage his tyres. But now he has to get a bit of a move on with a charging Lando Norris behind, who hasn't been able to dispatch Hamilton in the last 2 laps. And this is important in the scenario of the race because it's only going to be extending Max Verstappen's lead. We'll see how McLaren manage this. You do think Lando, it is only a matter of time, but he hasn't been able to do it in the last 2 laps. But if we can't do it, if you think in the next couple of laps or so, they might have to just change their strategy and get him to manage his tyres and go strong later on in the stint. But let's go again. So let's go through turn 13. He's definitely closer. 4 temps, 2 temps. Oh, he's so close this time around to Lewis Hamilton. Of course, it all depends on the wash from the car ahead in turn 14, but he's so much closer. 3 temps back from Lewis now, and you do think even with the tow that Hamilton is going to be getting from George Russell up ahead, Norris is going to be benefiting from that also. And you can see there his icon gets ahead of Lewis Hamilton down into turn 1, and Norris dispatches Lewis Hamilton. And this is important for Lando because he needs to get rid of these 2 Mercedes pretty sharpish so that he can then start to focus on closing that gap to Max Verstappen out up front with that tyre advantage that he has. He won't be able to catch him in this stint, but in the last stint it is going to be very, very important. Ooh, George is backing Lewis into Norris and not help. No, that would be helping him, Benjamin, if anything, because he'd be giving him a big toe down into the first corner. That actually would be assisting Lewis. It wouldn't be... if Lewis was just by himself out up front, punching the air ahead, Lando would have got him a few laps prior to that. So he needed the tow from Russell to hold him off for as long as he did, which they have done. But just watching the move back on TV, and it was an easy move. Cleared Lewis before he even got down into turn 1. And that is the power and the performance that McLaren has at the moment. Very, very good car. And of course, 8-lap younger tyres, which Norris has over George Russell. So he's not got DRS this time around, but you'll see, even being under a second back from George Russell, he'll be gaining in the tow. Very, very long start-finish straight here at the Barcelona de Catalunya. Circuit de Catalunya. Is that the right words? Apologies for my Spanish, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies. But Lando there. So he is gaining. Perez now onto the fresh set of mediums. Fastest in the middle sector. Anyone else made a pit stop recently? No. So but Bottas, Tsunoda and Magnussen are on the hard compound tyres. Magnussen has been lapped by Max Verstappen, who is currently 7.9 seconds ahead of George Russell, lapping in the 1:19.8s. Higher 1:19s Verstappen is at the moment. George Russell did a 1:20.3, so about half a second difference between the Mercedes each lap around. But Lando Norris much quicker. You can see there 19.8 last time around. Let's see if he's able to gain under braking here through the tight twisty turn 10, 11 and 12. This is really where the extra grip will come in and be able to drag him close to the back of that Mercedes of George Russell. But it might take him a couple of laps to get past George Russell because he's not close enough at the moment with being 8 tenths back. We saw he had to be under half a second to get in front of Lewis. But with George Russell not having the support of Lewis Hamilton in front to drag him along, he may be able to gain a lot more than he did on Lewis prior to that. And you can see the gain. Oh my God, it's about 4 temps there. That was about 3 to 4 temps that Lando Norris just gained there down that start-finish straight. So, yes, you would think that if he's around half a second, he'll at least be able to get side-by-side past... side-by-side with George Russell into turn 1. But we know that George likes to get his elbows out as well, which Lewis Hamilton will be watching very keenly, only 1.2 seconds behind Lando. If those two go side-by-side, he'll be ready to pounce and get a podium position as it stands. But Sainz there in P5, 3.6 seconds back from Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc gaining every single lap on his teammate with 9-lap younger tyres to his teammate. So Charles Leclerc here, no doubt, will be passing his teammate pretty soon with team orders, I imagine, or maybe not. Maybe he'll feel a little bit aggrieved about the slight contact that was made at the start of the race. We've already seen Charles Leclerc get aggrieved this weekend, which he got let off with very lightly, if you ask me. But Perez flying at the moment as well on brand new mediums. 18.6 for him, best time of this race, as he is in P13, chasing down Lance Stroll. Let's see how he gets on. Zhou Guanyu going quite well in P11, still yet to pit for another time. Valtteri, but let's see how those hard runners are getting on at 20.5 last time around for Bottas. Magnussen is in clean air and he's done a 1:19.8. So Lando very, very close this time around on Russell. Wow, 0.0, and he's got a move done. They're side by side as they head through turn 3, and Lando with that extra grip has got past George Russell down into turn 4, but George Russell's going to come back at him as they look down into turn 4. George Russell swoops round Lando Norris and regains the position down into turn 4, and Lando not able to come back out to turn 5, and that's really, really essential in this race for the win here today for Max Verstappen. But George Russell seems to have a bit of a slow exit off of turn 5, and Lando gets the position back into turn 7. Lando, what a fight between these two British drivers, Lando Norris and George Russell, and this has brought Lewis Hamilton into this fight now, as this is going to release Lando Norris. We thought that he wasn't able to get the move done down into turn 1. George Russell had to go defensive very late into turn 1 and was out of position for the rest of the race, rest of the lap, and that's why Lando Norris was able to go side by side with George Russell. Great, fair and respectful racing between the two, and this is pretty much kind of the first time we've seen them go side by side this hard, especially for a podium position, for quite a long time. So now, how is this relationship between Lewis Hamilton and George Russell going to fare? Is Lewis going to think about a move on his teammate? He is gaining as they head down into turn 1, as George Russell is gaining on Lando as well, but doesn't have the grip out of the last couple of corners to have a charge back at the McLaren of Norris. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, this is for a last podium position as it currently stands. We still have one stint, one more pit stop remaining. 31 laps left. 31 laps left, guys. Wow. But a great move for Lando Norris there. Great racing by George Russell and Lando Norris. We'll see how much that's taken out of George Russell's tyres, as we can see Hamilton, who was just kind of waiting patiently behind. I wonder if the mind games and the radio games are going to start to play now with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell on the radio, because George Russell might have taken going offline a little bit, might have taken more out of his tyres there than Lewis Hamilton, who's just been sitting patiently waiting. But what that has done is that Verstappen now out up front, 9 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, who did go long in his first stint. So there is a bit of an offset here. The way that this race is panning out at the moment is that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen still yet to make another pit stop. There will be a tyre deficit, and we are going to end this race most likely with Lando Norris as George Russell dips into the pits. George Russell dips into the pits and releases Lewis Hamilton. So George Russell coming into the pit lane, and he is going to be on the hard compound tyre, no doubt, to the end of this race. We'll see how Max Verstappen and Lando Norris respond. We do expect McLaren to go long, but how I'm foreseeing it at the moment, guys, is that I think Verstappen is going to pit, of course, first, and then Lando Norris will extend, and then it's going to be Lando chasing down Max at the end of this race. So let's see what happens. 30 laps, only 30, still 30 laps remaining. I feel like a lot's happened already in regards to. I think this has been a good race thus far, guys. What do you think? Do you think this has been a good race? As Sainz and Russell come out of the pit lane at the same time. A good, much better pit stop this time out for George Russell, as he is on the hard compound tyre to the end. So they think they can take the hard compound tyre 30 laps. But I do think this has been a good race thus far. We've had more overtaking and more wheel-to-wheel fighting I can ever remember at Barcelona. I haven't seen this much wheel-to-wheel racing at Barcelona in a long time. So and we've still got 29 laps remaining. Max Verstappen, your leader, by 8.2 seconds from Max Verstappen. 4 tenths faster last time out, Lando Norris was. We'll see. This time out, he's 6 tenths faster. So now Lando's been released. Now he has 6 lap younger tyres on Max Verstappen. He is chasing him down, and he is quicker. He has no one else ahead of him that he has to worry about overtaking. Max Verstappen was slower than Lewis Hamilton last time out, and lost Charles Leclerc as well, with 19.5s and 19.4s. So we'll see if did he have to overtake Yuki Tsunoda there? I'm not entirely sure. We'll see if Max is able to respond potentially to those lap times. He does have a 7.9 second lead over Lando and over Lando at the moment, a 10-second lead over Lewis Hamilton. So we'll see how this plays out as Esteban Ocon comes into the pit lane as well. Alonso gets ahead of his teammate Lance Stroll as he dives into the pit lane. They're not really fighting for points positions today. The two Aston Martins, been a poor weekend for them. Logan Sargent now back to the bottom of the timing sheets into P20. You can see on the hard compound tyre. So Norris quicker than Max. Yes, he is. He is. Why is Max slowing? Because he's been on these set of tyres for longer. So let's have a look this time around. It's a clear lap, and he's just done a 1:19.8. So let's see what Lando Norris does as he comes round. I can definitely see that the interval was closed, and it was a 19.3. So Max. The reason Max is going slower is because he's on 6 or 7. My maths is wrong now, I think. 6 laps. Older tyres than Lando. This track is a very high degradation circuit. There's a lot of load and a lot of energy put for the tyres. So 6 laps is a lot of extra laps to be on those tyres, or usage on those tyres. As George Russell goes fastest with an 18.3 on a brand new set of hard compound tyres. So the fact Lando has been able to extend his first initial stint on the softs for 6 laps is why now you're seeing his lap times be half a second quicker than Max in this second stint at this stage of the race. So Gasly down into P9 as he pits, and it looks like a much better pit stop for Gasly this time out, as he is going to come out ahead of Fernando Alonso, or they're going to go side by side down into turn 1. It looks like it's going to be very close between the Spaniard and Gasly has just been able to maintain the position, I think, on Alonso. Alonso does have a look though as they head through turn 3, and Gasly stays ahead of the fiery Fernando Alonso. We know that it wouldn't be the easiest man to pass racing at his home circuit, as well as Sainz this weekend. So Sainz there, a fastest first sector. So the hard compound tyre definitely working and switching on very quickly. Because of the nature of this circuit, as we just mentioned, with it being such a high-loaded circuit, they don't really struggle with the tyre warm-up. So these guys are able to just go out there and basically start putting these lap times in from the get-go. But Lando Norris, a 19.2 last time out, so 4 temps on Max Verstappen, who did a 19.66. So Max having to deal with a bit more traffic, though, with Valtteri Bottas up ahead. Lando Norris will have to deal with that himself now as well, with Magnussen, Tsunoda, Stroll and Bottas. Lewis Hamilton managing his tyres at this stage of the race, 23-lap olds, the oldest out of those currently in the top 5 at the moment. So no doubt, no reason... Understandably, that's why he's going slowest in P3 with the 20.0. Carlos Sainz there an 18.5, Russell an 18.9. So Oscar Piastri, how's he been getting on? He is in P5 at 19.7. Leclerc 19.4 last time around, so he's going quite nicely at this stage. But it's definitely shaping up for some on-track action at the front of this grid come the end of the race, as Verstappen gets ahead of Bottas as they head down into turn 1. It was a 20.3 for Verstappen there, as Lando Norris did a 19.7 as he is catching up to Magnussen down into turn 1. We'll see if Magnussen gives way to Norris pretty nicely. At the moment, he definitely didn't lift as he went into turn 1, that's for sure, but he is letting Lando through turn 2. So Lando won't lose a lot of time here as they went through turn 3. Biggest comeback of 2024, Alpine. Yeah, going very well at the moment. Very well. Zhou is still yet to pit. You've got... who else still yet to pit? So Ocon's going to have to get the moves done. I think Alonso is still yet to pit as well, most likely for a second stint. For a second stop. So is Zhou. So Ocon will be... Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much fighting for... the top 10, definitely. And Gasly could potentially catch Perez. We'll see. He is on hard compound tyres to the end, and Perez is on mediums. So you would think that tyre deficit, Gasly will be easily able to catch Perez, as his tyres will fall off towards the end of the race, and he'll have to at least do more managing than Gasly, who is on the hards. But here we go. Norris making quick work of Yuki Tsunoda there, I think, or... The Yuki Tsunoda wasn't too kind to Lando Norris there, I think, as he let him through. Of course, the sister team of Max Verstappen went side by side through turn 12 there. So Lando Norris did an 18. Lando Norris still managed to do an 18.9 last time out, compared to Verstappen, who did a 19.6. So even with lap traffic there of overtaking Magnussen and Tsunoda in the same lap, he did 7/10 faster than Verstappen last time out. That's quite interesting. That's very good, Lando. Keep it up. Keep it up. So let's have a look at the grid as a whole, shall we? As we are still only yet to see the top 5 to make a pit stop of Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Leclerc, Piastri, and Piastri to make a second pit stop. Sorry, not just a single pit stop. When we have further down George Russell, who is on the hard compound tyre to the end of the race, so is Carlos Sainz. We see Perez there is on the mediums to the end of this race, with Gasly on the hard compound tyre looking to chase him down. Fernando Alonso just moves up into P10 as Zhou now makes a pit stop. Alonso still yet to make a second pit stop also. Esteban Ocon, who will be looking to chase down Fernando Alonso, who I think will be making another pit stop. You've got to assume he will do. Will move up into P10, and that'll be a double points finish if they finish that way for the two Alpines. A good resurgence from them. We can see Daniel Ricciardo up into 12th place at the moment, still yet to make a second pit stop. Also, Nico Hulkenberg on the hard compound tyre will probably dispatch him pretty soonish. Albon also yet to make a second pit stop, up into P14. Stroll now out on the hards. We can see that Zhou's rejoined just behind his teammate there of Bottas, and importantly for Lando, didn't come out ahead of Lando, so he didn't have to deal with another lap car. But Lando making quick work of the lap cars, and he's gaining on Max Verstappen here at this stage of the race with 24 laps remaining. George Russell is reporting the hard compound tyre does not feel good. So what we are going to see is another set of softs be put onto the likes of Verstappen and Norris, no doubt. They're going to be extending this middle stint, but what that will do for Max Verstappen is that he'll either have to come in and pit earlier than Lando, or he's going to be going slower to try and extend this middle stint, which will only fall into Norris's hands. As you can see there, that gap now down to below 5 seconds as Max Verstappen is overtaking Albon there in the lap traffic. Ricciardo into the pits, P13. He is going to come out behind, no doubt. Alex Albon is still yet to make a second pit stop. Lance Stroll. Lando Norris should make quick work of Lance Stroll, as he does have DRS. Go on, be a good boy, Lance Stroll. Be a good boy, Lance Stroll, and just lift and let Lando go into turn 1. He does indeed, as Lewis Hamilton dives into the pit lane. So out of the top 5 drivers who had still yet to pit of Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc and Piastri for their second pit stop, Lewis Hamilton has pulled the trigger there. Looked to be a bit of a slow pit stop, I think, for Lewis Hamilton, as he is going to come out behind his teammate and Carlos Sainz, it seems to be. Which tyre is he going on to? Is he going on to another set of softs, or is he going to go onto a set of hards? Let's see what he goes on to. Softs. Lewis Hamilton onto softs, guys. Lewis Hamilton onto softs, whereas George Russell is on hards. So there is a split strategy here between the two Mercedes drivers with 23 laps remaining. George Russell complaining about the hard compound tyre sliding around quite a bit. Lewis Hamilton onto a set of used softs. Only 3 laps, though, to the end of this race. Of course, tyre deck not going to be as high as it was at the start of this race, where these drivers have less fuel with only 23 laps remaining, so less load being put through those tyres. So they will be able to go longer than they would do at the start. But interesting from Lewis, we'll see. They probably, I think, at this stage of the race, the medium compound tyre, as Max Verstappen into the pit lane. Max Verstappen into the pit. So he is definitely going to be taking a set of soft compound tyres. 22 laps. Lando Norris now. This is push time for Lando Norris. Go on, Lando. Push. As Verstappen, no doubt, I think he still had a brand new set of softs available to him. He started on a used set of softs at the start of this race. So he will be coming out, yes, you can see there, 0, as Lando responds with a fastest first sector out of anyone in Sector 1. So Lando now, it's hammer time for Lando Norris, because he needs to push now. 6 laps he had over Max Verstappen, who will be on the soft compound tyre. This is going to be a very intriguing end to this race, guys. It's going to be a very intriguing last 22 laps of this race. We're going to see Max Verstappen and Lando Norris pushing to the end of this race. Ooh. Lando doesn't need to pit yet. No, he doesn't need to pit yet because of the tyre deficit. So the tyre deck here is still tyre deck, even though it will be less than it was at the start of the race. But Lando with 6 laps, if they stick to that 6 laps that they initially sort out, Lando will Lando will pit with 16 laps remaining. So that'll be very intriguing indeed. So Lando goes in with a 1:18.7. So Norris, Verstappen has pitted. This is our chance now, is what the engineer reports about that to Lando Norris. It's push time from Lando. It's push time from Max Verstappen. The win is truly on here, guys, between Norris and Max Verstappen. The start of this race, Lando Norris lost the lead to George Russell, who swooped past Max Verstappen and Lando Norris into turn one. Verstappen then regained that lead from George Russell only 2 laps later. Lando bided his time behind George Russell and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen built up a little bit of a lead. Norris extended his first stint to ensure he has a tyre delta. Will have the fresher tyres come the end of this race. Speeding in the pit lane for Nico Hülkenberg is being investigated. But there is a potential here that Lando Norris could still win this race, even though he lost the lead down into turn one and was third place after the first lap. Lewis Hamilton also pushing here as well. An 18.7 last time out, a fastest first sector for him. Looking very comfortable on the soft compound tyre. He's about 8 tenths faster than his teammate at the moment. So we are in for a very, very intriguing last few laps here, guys. 20 laps to be exact. Fernando Alonso into the pit lane as well. Is he going to come out ahead of his teammate? A poor weekend for the two Aston Martin drivers, as everyone has now taken their second pit stop, and it does look like that Alonso and Stroll will not be finishing in the points positions. Norris, they just asked, engineer just went to, we need to pit soon to cover off Hamilton, or we'll have to pass him. And Norris went, yeah, I'll pass him. Very, very confident Lando Norris over the radio. So it is going to be a charging Lando Norris at the end of this race, similar that we saw years ago between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Ooh, stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. I think Perez should replace Zhou, bringing a lot of money to stake and freeing an RB seat. Yeah. Guys, please hit that like button. We only got 644, I say only. We've got 644 likes. If we could hit 1,000... hang on. We've got, if you could hit that like button and get it to 1,000 likes, that'd be much appreciated. And if you could hit that subscribe button at the top right hand of your screen, if you haven't already, we are in for a cracking last few laps here, guys. 20 laps as Lando comes into the pits. He comes into the pits. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. So it's only 3 laps longer that he went. I think this might be to get out ahead of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. We'll see if this is the case as George Russell is coming round turn 14. Max Verstappen goes down to turn 1. Is Lando Norris going to get ahead of George Russell and Lewis Hamilton? It's going to be very close as they head down into turn 1. Is he going to have to deal with 2 Mercedes or 1 Mercedes? Is he going to stay ahead of George Russell? George Russell, we've seen these two guys side by side already. George Russell tries to go around the outside with the momentum on Lando Norris, but Lando stays ahead of George Russell, which is so essential, rather than having to overtake 2 Mercedes or 1 Mercedes, which could cost him this race. He has got out ahead of them, and with 3 lap younger tyres, it is now full push to Max Verstappen. But can he make up 8 seconds in 19 laps? We'll see. He's been very quick all day, Lando Norris, so I think obviously, the charge of Lewis Hamilton was putting off McLaren there, that they would have to not just deal with one overtaking George Russell on the hard compound tyre, which you think would be quite simple to do, but Lewis Hamilton on a set of softs might have been a little bit more difficult and cost them too much time to Max Verstappen. So now let's have a look at the lap times. Let's see if Lando can draw out and get ahead of Max Verstappen, who's having to deal with a bit of traffic at the moment. Lando likewise is having to deal with a bit of traffic. He'll have DRS as Max Verstappen does at the moment, but it is full push. We are going to see Max Verstappen and Lando Norris go full push for the last 18 laps of this race, and that's what we want to see. Hopefully we get wheel-to-wheel fighting. Can he make up that much time on Max Verstappen? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. So Lando was on a set of used tyres because he used them in quali. But let's see if he can... I mean, he's already gained a couple of seconds there out of the pits. So let's see. So There was an ever so slight delay from McLaren in the pit stop, so we'll see. But we have full push to the end of this race now. It seems to be that Nico Hülkenberg has got a 5-second time penalty, the second hardest car to get a 5-second time penalty today. One for a full start for Magnussen and a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane for Nico Hülkenberg. We can see there that Yuki Tsunoda is also being investigated for the same thing as well. And normally when they're investigated for speeding in the pit lane, it's a pretty slam dunk, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I think Yuki's his day's going to go from bad to worst, as you can see there in P20, and he's going to get a 5-second time penalty also. Big thank you for all the subs flying in as well, guys, and the likes. Thank you. Let's get it to 1,000 likes, shall we? And let's get this stream to, let's get this, can we get 200 more? Oh no, what's my maths? 300 more subs? Can we get 300 more subs? Surely. With the 6,500 of you here in this stream, surely there's 300 of you yet to hit the subscribe button. As Lando does a 1:17.3, whereas Max Verstappen did a 1:18.5. Now, the difference here, 1:82. So now, this is where the intrigue is. I said they'll both be going full out. Will Max go full out? As there is a 5-second time penalty for Yuki Tsunoda. His day's just gone from bad to worse, unfortunately. Max Verstappen, is he going to just bide his time on this set of tyres and make sure he has enough to potentially defend at the end of this race? I think he may do that. I take it back. I don't think he's going to go all out towards the end of this race. I think he'll be a bit clever. He has track position and just ensure that when Lando gets within touching distance, he has enough tyres left, because it's very easy to kill your tyres still with 17 laps remaining, but Lando has been very good on the tyres all race. So I think he can push probably a bit harder than that of Max Verstappen. He did an 18.0. Let's see what Lando Norris does as he comes round turn 14. DRS assistance with Magnussen. It's a fastest last sector, and it was a 17.9. So not the gain that we need to see from Lando Norris if we want to see Max Verstappen and Lando Norris tussle it out before the end of this race. How much time is lost when you pit? 22.5 seconds. 22.5 seconds. Why are they letting Perez drive? No. He's now occupying P10. He's now occupying P10 because they've made him pit. So he has a 10-second... He has 10 seconds to... Oh, no, he's actually on the back of Esteban Ocon already. So he'll get ahead of Esteban Ocon, no doubt, on hards to softs. So Verstappen and Lando, yeah, they're just reporting that Lando's pushing to Max and pushing all corners. So let's see. I mean, that gap there, as he's been released from the two lap cars. So there is definitely going to be saving tyres from Max Verstappen from that radio message in preparation for Lando kind of getting up to the back of him. So no doubt Max will be saving tyres in prep for that potential last few laps push from Lando. Hamilton, please just get on the damn podium. Well, yes, there is. Let's see. A 17.1 from Lando last time out. So that, with in the first sector, he lost quite a bit of time because he had to overtake Magnussen and Bottas. So 17.1 from Lando, who is pushing at the moment, is catching, is closing that gap to Verstappen. But how much tyres will he have left when he gets there? As Hamilton gets past George Russell, that was my question. On the soft compound tyre, Hamilton, the two teammates, gets past George Russell into the first corner, and Hamilton is on the current podium position, which would be a great result for him this weekend. But George Russell is on the hard compound tyre. Let's see how he responds. Maybe he can't respond. I don't think he'll be able to, because he just doesn't have the grip. He'll be complaining, and it'll be roles reversed this time around. Last time out at Montreal, Hamilton was complaining about being on the harder compound tyre at the end rather than the mediums, and this time around I think Russell is definitely going to be complaining about the different compound tyre he's on compared to Lewis. So let's just watching the replay of this move down into turn one. George did defend late. George went and defended late. He tried to, but Lewis Hamilton just drove round the outside with that extra grip he has in the soft compound tyre and made very, very quick work of George Russell, and that will hurt the Brit, no doubt. And George Russell, he will have a bit of DRS assistance here from Valtteri Bottas, but he just doesn't have that grip, unfortunately. But Lewis Hamilton, much more comfortable. This race, this time around, is looking on course for a podium at the Spanish Grand Prix, a track where he has always always gone very well out. I think he's a 6-time winner here. So let's have an update on the top two. Verstappen last time out at 17.9 and Norris at 17.6. That gap now 5.3 seconds with 14 laps remaining. Lewis Hamilton is P3. He is pulling away from his teammate George Russell, where he is on the soft compound tyres compared to George, who is on the hard. Carlos Sainz in 5th, up 1 position ahead of his teammate on the hard compound tyre, and very similar to the Mercedes that we just saw. I think we're going to see the same with the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc on the soft compound tyre doing sub 118s compared to Sainz doing 119s. So no doubt Leclerc will be catching Sainz soon and making an overtake on his teammate. Verstappen being reported, now we need to push to the end. So that very swiftly changed. That tonal mood of Max Verstappen and Lando, of Max Verstappen's engineer, has changed. And you can see there, Max Verstappen, a 1:18.1 this time out with a 1:17.9 of Lando Norris. So 5.3 seconds, 13 laps remaining. Is there enough? Is there enough in the tyres of Lando Norris to catch Max Verstappen, who is now pushing, ladies and gentlemen? So, Piastri in P7, bit of a lonely race from him. He's quite a few seconds back from Charles Leclerc there. You can see about 13.5 seconds. About 13.5 seconds. So, yeah. Hang on. No emojis. Stop spamming emojis, please, in the chat. Mods, if you're there, can you sort that out, please, guys? Right. So let's have an update. Let's yeah, that's what I've just done. Sorry, guys, that's just trying to sort that out. Why am I seeing that? There we go. All good. I think it's all good. So, it says Ben until Hamilton to let Russell pass. No, they won't do. Verstappen being reported strat 10. 1-0. Byron Ferrari places swaps. I think this will be the order. Potentially, yeah, potentially. We'll see. So Verstappen last time out of 17.7. Lando Norris a 17.9 as he is catching the dirty air of Lance Stroll. So there is still a few cars in between Verstappen and, well, Zhou and Alonso, which Norris will have to get past as well. But at the moment, with 12 laps remaining, the ascendancy is definitely in Stroll's hands, as we can see. So let's see if Lando is going to be able to get that. Thank you, James. Thank you, buddy. So 12 laps remaining, 900 likes, 25,735 subs. Come on, there's got to be 250 odd of you who haven't subscribed in this channel. 6,800 of you here in the stream. Big thank you for you all returning for this Spanish Grand Prix, the first of a triple header that we have here. We have 12 laps remaining, or about 11 laps remaining now. Max Verstappen is your leader from Lando Norris in P2. Lewis Hamilton in P3, pulling away from his teammate, who is on the soft compound tyre, and George Russell on the hards. We have Leclerc in P5, who has got past Carlos Sainz. As I was just sorting out the chat there, we can see that Carlos Sainz is back behind Charles Leclerc, who extended that first stint. We have Oscar Piastri in P7. It's been a very lonely race from him, and a very lonely weekend, to be honest. Not what he would be looking for if he was further up the grid. If he sorted out his qualifying, he could have been there to help his teammate a little bit more. Gasly in P8, being chased down by Sergio Perez here on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. Maybe the Alpines, will they be able to hold off Sergio Perez? I think they'll probably get caught with the time that Perez is setting at the moment, about half a second to 6 tenths better than Gasly per lap. Let's just have a look, and even more than that, 9 tenths. So Perez, no doubt, will catch Pierre Gasly and will end up finishing where he initially qualified. Of course, he got a free place grid penalty for today. But Gasly and Ocon, a good weekend for them. Alpine, that'll be solidifying another double points finish for those two. Hulkenberg in P11, Alonso and Stroll in 12th and 14th. Aston Martin's really falling off a cliff at the moment. As we can see, Zhou, a good weekend for him in P13. Valtteri Bottas, I think, had a very slow pit stop, which has demoted him below his teammate. Otherwise, he would have been comfortably ahead there in P15. Magnussen, who had a 5-second time penalty for a full start, down in 16th. Ricciardo in 17th. Albon 18th. Tsunoda 19th, who does have a 5-second time penalty to be issued at the end of this race. So he may still end up finishing 20th, as he did just overtake Logan Sargent. But yeah, not been a weekend for the VCARB cars to remember, and of course Logan Sargent, well, where he kind of always is and where we expect him to be, unfortunately. So at the top of the timing screens there, we can see Verstappen an 18.3 last time out, where it was a 17.6 for Lando Norris. 5 seconds remaining, 10 laps. He needs to make up around that gap what he just made per lap to the end of this race, around 6 tenths per lap, to have an opportunity on the last lap to go at max. We'll see if that is the case. So Max Verstappen in P1, 4.9 seconds but ahead of Lando Norris, who is having to deal with Zhou Guanyu ahead of him. How much will that be affecting him? Let's keep an eye on those lap times. Last lap for Max Verstappen, then 18.1. What about Lando Norris? And 17.89. Not quick enough for Lando Norris in the latter stages of this race here. Maybe a bit of assistance for Fernando Alonso, but I don't think he's going to get it. Fernando Alonso is always very kind to Max Verstappen when it comes to being lapped. But he is gaining in that first sector quite considerably there. You can see that gap does come down a couple of attempts over Max Verstappen, but Max does seem to have the pace in the rest of the sectors. Hamilton is P3. He is putting away from his teammate. He is 2.2 seconds ahead of George Russell, who's on the hard compound tyres. As Magnussen has got overtaken by Daniel Ricciardo into turn 1, and Daniel Ricciardo getting an on-track move done, but it's kind of not going to be for much because of the nature of them being down in 16th and 17th position. Where do I think Lando can go to improve his career? Right where he is. Lando is in the perfect position to potentially win a world championship and win races. McLaren is on the up, and Max Verstappen is proving to be the difference at the moment between the teams, and that's what you get when you have a good driver. So this time out, a green last sector for Max Verstappen with an 18.1, and Norris getting stuck that lap behind Zhou Guanyu. It was actually a tenth slower than Max, so he's actually lost ground that lap on Max Verstappen with 8 laps remaining. The Mercedes here, the charge of Lewis Hamilton, I believe, has potentially got in the way of Lando Norris winning this race. But ultimately, Lando Norris has got in the way of himself potentially winning this race today because of his slow getaway and losing not only pole position, but losing going from first to third in the space of 1 corner at the start of this race. That is what is ultimately why Lando is having to chase Max Verstappen down at the end here, but he has a lot of ground to cover. 4.8 seconds between him and the Red Bull with only 7.5 laps remaining. P3 is great though for Mercedes. Yeah, I mean P3 and 4 for Mercedes is amazing. Of course, P3 is great for Lewis Hamilton as well. Looks like they've just fallen short over race pace, the Mercedes here this weekend. But massive strides forward for the team and for Lewis Hamilton as well, if you're a fan. As Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda are going... Oh, it's a bit of a... I thought Alex Albon and Yuki Tsunoda were going side by side there, but don't think they were. I think that was just the timing sheet having a bit of a fritz. So it sucks to be a Hamilton can't get P2 unless it's a safety car. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't look like there's going to be a safety car unless it comes from Bottas, Ricciardo, Magnussen. It's been a very clean race. We've had some great wall-to-wall racing. It's been one of the more enjoyable Barcelona Grand Prix, I think I've ever remembered. And we've actually had multiple corners. We've actually had battles last multiple corners, which is what we want to see in F1. So we've actually seen racing. That's what we want, guys. That's what we want. But if you can hit that subscribe button, I know I keep asking. I know I sound like a broken record. If you don't ask, you don't get. 25,000, you can see there. If you hit the subscribe button, let's get that figure up to 26,000. It'd be much appreciated. Nearly 1,000 likes as well as we're approaching the last few laps of this race. 7 laps remaining, 6 laps remaining pretty much. as there are 4.9 seconds between Lando and Verstappen at the moment. Alex Albon took a bit of a trip to the gravel trap. That's why actually I saw the timing sheet go on the fritz a little bit, because Alex Albon took an off. But Alonso not kindly getting out of the way of Lando Norris here, although he will be giving him a kind toe down into turn 1. And you can see there the last few laps where Lando has got stuck behind Zhou and Alonso has really cost him, as he's actually lost ground to Max Verstappen, an 18.2 and an 18.1. So clean air now for both drivers to the end of this race. You would assume Hülkenberg is next up for Max Verstappen, but is quite a few seconds ahead. Let's see, with them going full gun-ho, what will happen between the ends. We know Max Verstappen doesn't make mistakes. We'll be very surprised, even if there's pressure put on him, if there'll be a slight lock-up here or there. But you can see Lando Norris, a 22.5 in that first sector. He's made 6 attempts on Max Verstappen in that first sector alone this time around. Let's see if that continues to come down over the last 5.5 laps. Wow, what these drivers are pushing, guys. They are pushing. Lewis Hamilton, an 18.6, 3.4 seconds ahead of his teammate now, who is on the hard compound tyre. Can Charles catch Russell? Oh, that's crept up on me. George Russell could be vulnerable to Charles Leclerc, who is lapping 7 tenths faster than George Russell at the moment, who is on the hard compound tyre, and Leclerc is on 16 lap old softs. Leclerc is lapping the same times pretty much as Max Verstappen, as Norris did make up half a second that time around on Max Verstappen, and that was pretty much all in the first sector, as you can see there. We'll see. I think they're pretty level pegging. That was DRS assisted, and of course the toe assisted as well with Fernando Alonso, but Lando gains a bit in the first sector, but I think they're pretty level pegging in the remaining sectors, and that's where Lando is going to fall short here, I think, with just 4.5 laps remaining, guys. Esteban Ocon is in P10. Perez chasing down Gasly, making up half a second per lap. So there could be a last lap showdown between Sergio Perez and Pierre Gasly for P8 also. But Charles Leclerc this time around 2.7 seconds back from George Russell, and 18.7, half a second on that last lap alone on the Mercedes. So the Mercedes here could have P4 go away to Charles Leclerc, who has had a very quiet race, to be honest with you. It's not been a very good weekend for Charles Leclerc or the Ferrari team. So Carlos Sainz has dropped all the way back to P6. So that hard compound tyre on the finishing stint just hasn't worked. The soft compound going long either on the first stint and in the middle stint, and then going on to the softs was definitely the strategy for today. Perez is an Alpine sandwich. he's the filler at the moment, but I think he might catch Gasly. So Lando Norris last time out, 1.18.0 to a 1.18.3 of Max Verstappen. I think he's going to fall just a little bit short here, guys. Lando Norris 3.8 seconds back from Verstappen now. This will have to require a mistake, a little lockup, something from Max Verstappen to bring Lando Norris into touching distance of Max. It's been a valiant effort from Lando, and you would argue that actually he has had the pace and been the quickest car here this weekend over Max. However, the mistake came from him not getting off the line sufficiently and losing that first position and dropping down to third into the first corner. That is what has cost Lando this race, but it does bode well for the future that the McLaren is definitely looking a well-balanced car and can take it to Red Bull at any circuit this year. And this is only the first of a triple header that we're heading to. We have the Red Bull Ring next up, which is a sprint race. We have Silverstone. Then we have 2 more races after that, and then we have the summer break. But we do definitely have a season on our hands, as there's another 4 attempts made up there by Lando Norris on Max Verstappen, but it's not enough. It's not enough at the moment, as he is 3.4 seconds short. It's not going to be quite close as Imola, but it is going to be a close finish between these two. Once again, it seems 3 laps remaining, guys. It is going to require a mistake from Max Verstappen, but we know Max doesn't make mistakes. Max is very, very cool under pressure, and it's been a very good trait of his over the years. And when he's been pressured like this, he doesn't make mistakes, and it doesn't seem that Norris has the pace advantage. He needed that tyre deficit that they were trying to gain in that first stint by going long, and they wanted to go long on the mediums, but the Mercedes threw a spanner in the works. Lewis Hamilton going onto the soft compound tyre threw a spanner in the works, and McLaren had to respond to secure P2. Well, not to secure P2, but to at least give Lando an opportunity to attack Max here at the end, but I think they're going to fall just a bit short. So, yes, if the Mercedes both went onto the hard compound tyre, I think we would have seen the McLaren extend, because there's no way Hamilton would have made the ground up that he did to ensure that Lando would have had to have overtaken two Mercedes rather than just the one. Of course, he responded and he got ahead of George Russell, but that was forced upon them by Lewis Hamilton on the soft compound tyre. But we have 1.5 laps remaining, and Lando is pushing. That was 8 tenths. Oh, 8 tenths last time around. Was there a slight mistake actually from Max Verstappen last time out, as Max Verstappen was 8 tenths slower than Lando Norris last lap, but he's just going to fall a bit short. He has Logan Sargeant ahead of him to get past. Blue flag, Logan Sargeant, no doubt, will be on the radio. 2.5 seconds between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen now, but he is not going to get DRS, of course, on Max Verstappen down into turn 1. It is still going to have to require a mistake from Max Verstappen. Logan Sargeant holding up Max as they go through the slowest corner of the circuit, turn 12. One of the slowest corners, and Max here will get DRS on Logan Sargeant as they head down into the first corner. Lando will not be getting a tow as Logan Sargeant moves out of the way of Max Verstappen and will hold up, unfortunately, Lando Norris through this first corner, or this first sector. We see that last time out, 18.7 to a 19.4 for Max Verstappen. That was a lot of ground gained from Lando Norris. Again, as Sergio Perez is also in the back, or is on the rear wing of Pierre Gasly. But it is the last lap of this Spanish Grand Prix. Lando chasing down Max Verstappen. It's been a valiant effort. 2.4 seconds behind Max now. He is quicker at the latter stages of this race, but it hasn't been enough. Max Verstappen, if he only has half a lap to navigate, and it'll be another good win for Max and the Red Bull team. Max being the difference once again, as arguably the McLaren of Lando Norris has been the quicker car here this weekend and today. It was all about the start that unfortunately has cost him this race, but you can see that interval time gaining, and he's just about to fall a couple of laps short, you would think. But this has been a great end to this race, with both of these drivers pushing to the ragged edge, pushing to the ends, and then one more corner remaining, and Max Verstappen has held off a charging Lando Norris to be the winner of the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. Lando Norris 2.2 seconds behind Max Verstappen in P2. Lewis Hamilton, with only a couple of corners remaining, will come across the line in P3. Charles Leclerc is badgering George Russell at the end here, 3 tenths back. The one last corner for George Russell and Charles Leclerc, but there's a short run to the start-finish line, and George Russell holds off Charles Leclerc at the end there for P4 for the Mercedes team to finish where they started. Charles Leclerc in P5. Carlos Sainz finishes in P6. Oscar Piastri, a lonely race for him, drags himself up 2 positions into P7. Sergio Perez gets Pierre Gasly on the last lap to put himself into P8. Pierre Gasly will finish in P9. They're still on their way round to the finish line. Let's see if they hold on to it. We know that turn 12 can be an issue, but Perez, yes, comes around the last corner, finishes in P8. Pierre Gasly in P9, Ocon in P10. That's a double points finish again for the Alpine team. They are definitely on the up, that is for sure. And their drivers didn't make contact with each other, so that's a positive as well. Hulkenberg in P11, Fernando Alonso in 12th. Zhou Guanyu, a good drive from him today in the Stake F1 car, not finishing dead last or towards the bottom. He's in 13th. Lance Stroll in 14th. Daniel Ricciardo up 3 positions into 15th. Bottas 16th. Magnussen 17th, Albon 18th, Yuki Tsunoda 19th, and he has managed to finish 6.4 seconds ahead of Logan Sargeant was 2 laps down, so massive gap between Tsunoda and Sargeant, where Tsunoda's 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane will result in nothing, and he will finish 19th. And Sargeant, Logie Bear, in 20th. And that, guys, is the end of the Spanish Grand Prix. Please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Let's get that number to 26,000. There's got to be still 150 odd of you in here, 190 of you in here who haven't hit that subscribe button. Please do. It helps build this community and this great stream we've got here, and I hope you enjoyed this watch along today, guys. It was a very intriguing one. We had, of course, a dramatic start with George Russell heading round both Lando Norris and Max Verstappen into first position, and ultimately that is where Lando Norris lost this race today. Yes, Lando Norris could have won this race. He was most definitely the quickest car out on circuit today, but him not getting down into turn one first cost him the win against Max Verstappen, as he could have pushed Max today and could have controlled that race, but unfortunately he didn't. Great drive from Lewis Hamilton. This last stint was really good on the soft compound tyre there, finishing in P3, a podium for Lewis Hamilton. My prediction at the start of this race, guys, wasn't right. I thought Lewis could win this race. The Mercedes just didn't have the race pace of McLaren and the Red Bull Max Verstappen. But big improvement for the Mercedes team, and a well-needed confidence boost for Lewis Hamilton, who we know has obviously been in the doldrums recently. George Russell in P4, holding off a charging Charles Leclerc there at the end. No doubt George Russell will be fuming after being in P1 at the first corner and going onto the hard compound tyre at the end. That hard compound tyre didn't work. Didn't work, did it? It wasn't the tyre to be on. And then the two Ferraris, well, finished where they started. Wasn't great for the two Ferraris, was it? So, yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone who tuned into this stream. Much appreciated. What did you think of that race, guys? What did you think of that race? What would you give this race out of 10? What would you give it? I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. And we'll also run a poll for Driver of the Day. Let's have a look. Driver of the Day. Who do we think are the candidates? Oh, not Driver of the Day. Driver of the Day. But that's the second time, guys, this season we have had Lando chasing down Max Verstappen, isn't it? Who else is there? Who gained? No one really gained a lot of positions, did they? No one really gained a lot of positions. I think really there's only three drivers. And I think as much as I like Hamilton and I think he did well this weekend, I can see where he's going to finish on this. So here's the poll, guys, for Driver of the Day. Let me know who you think is your Driver of the Day. I think it's pretty much between Verstappen and Norris. I've put Hamilton on there as well because it was a good drive from him. But yeah, I think predominantly it goes to Max and Norris. So who do I support, Fatima? So I do support Lewis Hamilton. I support Lando. I support the Brits. I am British. I think you should support your own nationality of drivers. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong in a bit of bias towards your own nationality, just like there is in other sports and in other teams and stuff. So yeah, I support Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, George Russell. I also support Alex Albon. I know he races under the tyre flag. I've said this before, but he is half British. And then I do like McLaren. I've always been a fan of McLaren growing up. I want Williams to do well. And yeah, I have soft spots for other drivers as well. But they're like the drivers that I mainly support. But ultimately, I want to see good racing. And that's, I think, what we saw today. So I saw a number of you. So let's have a look. So you've all said 8 out of 10. I saw a couple of 7s, 6, 7.5. I think an 8 out of 10 is good. I'd probably even go to say I think an 8 out of 10 is solid. I think that was a very, very good Barcelona race, a Spanish Grand Prix. They can always be quite boring. I think we got a lot of will-to-will racing there. There was the intrigue around the strategy, which two stoppers always provide, generally speaking. We saw drivers and teams try and take different strategies. Of course, we thought that might not be the case with the soft compound tyre. Everyone's starting on that. But yeah, It was an intriguing one, and Norris just couldn't get it done at the end. 2.2. Mercedes, Hamilton did really get in the way and screw up that strategy of McLaren to recover that race win was looking so on point. So on point. And if he had the tyre delta that he had, if he had 6 lap younger tyres that he had at the start, I think he would have won that race. But he built up from that first stint. I think he would have won the race. But the fact Lewis Hamilton was on the softs and was going quick, and there was a point of where he would have been able to have overtaken Russell quite comfortably on a set of hard compound tyres with that tyre delta. But Lewis Hamilton on a set of softs would have been. They would have lost that all-important time that they needed to gain in clean air. So Lewis Hamilton, kind of didn't stop Lando from winning this race, but stopped them from recovering the win of this race. Ultimately, Lando lost this race from his start, which was a great start. Wait till you see George Russell's move. Unbelievable. Hey, Prebin. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. But cut out if the leader makes a mistake. How is Norris driver of the day? He choked big time. I think mainly because of the recovery. Chris, that's why. So, a bit better than the normal position for the Spanish Grand Prix, definitely. Max 10 out of 10, Norris 10 out of 10, Lewis 10 out of 10. I wouldn't say it was a 10 out of 10 for Lewis. I'd say it was probably a 9 out of 10 for Lewis because Lewis had a poor start as well. I do think driver of the day goes to... I would probably give driver of the day to Max. I think he managed that race well again today, purely because of the start. Purely, driver of the day would go to Norris if he won. If he won, basically. If he held on to that, if he got a better start and held on to the lead. Lewis doesn't get driver of the day for me and doesn't get a 10 out of 10 because his start was poor. He lost the position to his teammate, wasn't even able to fight going down into... It could have been Lewis quite easily swooping around the outside into turn 1, but it wasn't. It was his teammate George. But it was still a good performance from Lewis. It was still a good performance. Oh, it's neck and neck again between Verstappen and Norris for driver of the day. Interesting, and a lot for. There's a lot of votes there for Lewis as well. I didn't think he'd get that many votes, guys. I didn't think he'd get that many votes. Norris had a bad start. It is not Lewis' place to facilitate. He's winning now. Norris driver of the day for losing with the fastest car. First turn decided it all. Kinda. Yeah, so. Hey, Murray. Thank you, buddy. Gee, social media is toxic. Oh, what, in here? Well, not in here. Surely not in here. Oh, is it online? Are you seeing online? Just got to ignore it, really. Just got to ignore it. So Max led the race from lap 2 until the end, and you give him driver of the day. No, the reason I give driver of the day to Max is because he managed the race very, very well. I think it's quite a difficult race to give driver of the day. I don't think there was really any standout performances. I don't give driver of the day to Norris because he fumbled the start. He ended up back in P3. And yeah, don't get me wrong, he had a good overtake on George Russell and that. But he didn't really... He didn't win this race. He had the fastest car today. He had the fastest car. He lost the position down into turn 1. And he nearly recovered the race with the help of his strategy team. And it's not to say that the rest of his race wasn't good to try and recover that poor start, but that poor start ultimately cost him the race win. Verstappen, well, just even though he won, just because you win and you don't necessarily have to defend, there's a way that you manage a race out up front which can gain you driver of the day. And I would say there wasn't really any other standout performances. Hamilton did okay, but he had a poor start as well. George Russell had an amazing start, but then fell off during the race. Leclerc didn't really have a great race. Sainz didn't have a great race. Piastri didn't have a great race. Perez, I'm never giving Perez driver of the day for being out of position and making overtakes on cars he should be making overtakes on. And everyone further down, kind of, yeah, I mean, didn't really have standout performances either. So that's why my driver of the day goes to Max. So Max really only had one solid overtake on George. Yeah, and he made it cleanly, and he made it good, and then he managed it from the end. And especially Like his pace, the way he managed his pace was really good. There is more to racing than just how many overtakes you make. And ultimately, he managed that race very well, and he saved his tyres at the end as well to manage that push from Lando. If he went too hard at the start of that last stint, Lando would have caught him at the end. So it's fine margins as well, but you have to manage in these cars, and Max did that very well. And under pressure from, same as what it was in Imola, pressured by Lando at the end, knowing that he could probably see in his rearview mirrors that flash of papaya coming up, getting closer and closer. And he didn't make a mistake. I think he made one slight mistake where he lost a bit of time, but ultimately no big mistakes, and yeah, he did that. So in a race that no one really did anything spectacular, that's the thing. Like, we had wheel-to-wheel racing, but no one did really anything spectacular to warrant them getting driver of the day. That's why. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, I'm not on Missed Apex this evening, so you get my opinions here today. All the top 7 gave their all. Piastri came through with good laps in the last stint. Yeah, I agree. I changed Verstappen driver of the day. Just boring. He is too good, Max. It's not. See, I disagree. It's not boring at all. That wasn't boring at all. Yes, okay. Max didn't get to go wheel to wheel with anyone at the front, apart from George. Max is being pushed for those wins at the end now. He's being forced to drive well to win. He can't just go out there and unconsciously think and win these races anymore. And Lando did lose this race. I don't think necessarily Max won this race. I think Lando lost this race. Lando, down into turn 1, of course, went from first to third, got stuck behind George Russell in that first stint, didn't overtake. I mean, I don't know if that was directions from Lando or if that was I don't know if that was a conscious decision by Lando not to overtake George, or if that was a team decision to sit behind George. But they might have been able to have pressured George more in that first stint, and got past him, and then been on more of an even kill with Max and Red Bull, and not lost so many seconds in that first stint, so that they then had to go long. And then, of course, we always knew in some form that Mercedes would have a role to play in this race, with them having 2 drivers to use. Like, I didn't think it would be like switching the strategies. I thought maybe like one would come in earlier for an undercut or something, and that's what ended up happening. And McLaren had to respond to that, got him out ahead of George Russell, and then he had to push to the end. He had to push for like 18 laps on tyres that were the same, because they'd already been used. They were the same age as Max Verstappen's, and Max had that time to just look after his tyres while Lando was pushing all the time, and then use them at the end. So if you think it's boring, you have not seen exactly Taco. You haven't seen 2023. Thank you, Ty. Sergeant driver of the day for finishing. Oh dear, Logan Sargent. So I heard, I was listening to P1 Matt and Tommy, and they were talking about Logan Sargent, and someone asked them the question of, would you replace Logan Sargent already, like the next race? Would you replace him in the next race, or do you think he's going to be replaced? And they went, no, what's the point of replacing him now? Like, it's in the middle of a triple header. What are Williams going to gain from it? I'll tell you what are Williams going to gain from it? Williams might actually be a little bit further up. I mean, you've got a driver who's likely to see him finish. Of course you're not, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's, why are you going to keep a known quantity, a known in the car, where he's going to finish 20th all the time, from someone like Kimi Antonelli for half the rest of the season, who might do the same poor job as Sargent, or he might actually be better than Sargent, actually pressure Albon and actually push you further up the grid and give you more feedback for next year. You know, like, that's, I don't see what you gain nothing from Sargent being in that car for the rest of the year. So. But do I think Isaac Hadjar step up to F1 with Haas? No. No, Ollie Behrman in Haas next year with Esteban Ocon lined up alongside. I think that's all but confirmed unofficially. just not signed on the dotted line or just not announced yet. So yeah, Ollie Behrman will be in F1 next year. Isaac Hadjar, I don't know. I mean, look, the grid is a funny place at the moment, and there's going to be a lot of junior drivers who don't make it onto F1 or make it into F1. Isaac Hadjar, Liam Lawson. I mean, Liam Lawson might potentially is looking like he's not going to be on the grid next year. Like the only person seat he's not going to the only person seat he can take next year is unless he's like his team are talking to Alpine. But I think they might go for Jack Doohan or Mick Schumacher, one of the two drivers there. But it's Daniel Ricciardo. But we know from the decision they've made with Perez already, that the amount of money that someone brings in and how marketable they are, that obviously influences their decision. And I think Ricciardo will stay at, I think he'll stay at VCARB for next year because he's very marketable. And Liam Lawson, even though he's better and deserves to be in an F1 seat for next year, I think he's going to be left out, hung out to dry, unfortunately. So, why are the harped up driver in F2 performing not too good there? So F2, it's a brand new year in F2 with these cars, and the teams that normally do well in F2, the likes of Prima, who Ollie Behrman and Antonelli drive for, haven't got their head around, from my understanding, haven't got their head around this new car, because it's a new F2 car. It's more closer to F1, ground effects and so forth. And the teams that normally do very well in F2 aren't doing so well. So yeah, there's a lot of that we do with it as well. So Antonelli had an issue on the start of the grid, didn't he? And he had to start from the pit lane, I think. I don't know how I don't know what the race ended up like. I know that they were having to goal hang for a safety car or something. So yeah, it wasn't a good weekend again for Prima. So Alonso driver of the day for finishing one place better than 23 years ago. Yeah, it's been a poor weekend for Aston Martin. Not even getting one driver in the top of the in the top 10. Fernando Alonso struggling. Lance Stroll's Lance Stroll, and yeah. They're going backwards, aren't they? They're just not making any ground in their development. So they didn't come out with a strong car this year, and they lost ground in development last year. So yeah, Alpine are definitely made strides, haven't they? Supposedly Alpine have got their car. Alpine was very overweight, from my understanding, and now it's dropped back down. They're now reaching the minimum weight, so there's a lot to do with that. So yeah, I think the Alpines, a lot of Alpine's issue is because it was overweight, and now they're back, like where they should be. So no scary, that's funny. Yeah, Rick Esteridge, yeah, State Car is ahead of him. But you know, I thought that was a really interesting race, guys. I really enjoyed that. Maybe we'll see Lando. Hopefully, we'll see Lando and Verstappen go wheel to wheel before the end of the season. I think we will. It's getting very, very close between those two up the front. McLaren have definitely made a good car, and they can take it to the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Not just saying Red Bull, I'm saying of Max Verstappen specifically, because we've been to a number of different type of circuits now, and the McLaren is up there. So who knows what this race would have been like if Piastri could have helped support Lando and maybe throw a spanner in the works of holding up Max Verstappen or something. I don't know. But yeah, we'll never know. But still a good race. Only 2.2 seconds between Max and Lando across the finish line there. Max extends his lead at the top of the championship. I think Lando might have overtaken Charles Leclerc in second place now. We will see. I'll have to see if that's been updated. Let's have a look. Driver standings. Lando is second by 2 points ahead of Charles Leclerc now in the standings. Max Verstappen extends his lead to 69 points from Lando Norris. And yeah, Charles Leclerc 2 points back. It's Carlos Sainz in fourth place ahead of Sergio Perez. He went ahead of Sergio Perez today. Carlos Sainz in the standings. Oscar Piastri 6th. George Russell 7th. Lewis Hamilton 8th. He's 11 points behind George in 7th. Fernando Alonso's 9th and Yuki Tsunoda's 10th. That's interesting. So yeah, that's the current standings there of the championship. And then the constructors is Red Bull Racing are 60 points ahead of Ferrari. And McLaren are quite far back, actually. McLaren are only on 237 points to Red Bull's 330, which is intriguing. Can Mercedes catch Ferrari in the constructors? I'm not sure. They're currently 119 points behind them, so maybe? I don't know, but this ends the driver of the day poll. Oh, actually, there's 958 votes, guys. Come on, can we get that to 1,000 votes? My OCD is killing me right now. 963 votes. Let's get 1,000 votes. Thank you, Monique. Yeah, thank you, buddy. I'm glad you guys enjoy these. Yeah, we'll be back, of course, next week. We only have a few more days, guys. We don't have long to wait for the next race. We head to the Red Bull Ring next week, which is a sprint race weekend. So there'll be sprint qualifying on the Friday, which I'll be doing. Then we have the sprint shootout and qualifying on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, of course, is the main race. And then after that, we head to Silverstone. What other lives do I do, Lehandri? These are the only watch-alongs that I do, because it's kind of the only series that does this format in regards to like the data, like track map and so forth. If F2 did this and provided us all the data, I'd probably give F2 a go and keep an eye on that championship also. But I do my sim racing, so I stream sim races on iRacing. Race against, actually was in the lobby with Kimi Antonelli the other day, which ended up very poorly for Kimi Antonelli. So I race against, yeah, quite a few of the drivers that we see on F2 and F3 on the regular. So yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty fun. 900, there we go, I'm in the poll. Was that 1,000 votes? 1k votes exactly, bosh. There we go. So driver of the day is Max Verstappen, as voted by you, with 40% of the vote. Lando Norris 34%, Hamilton 25%. I am surprised Lewis got that many, to be fair. I thought he would have got less than that. I think it was a good drive from him. I don't think it was driver of the day drive from him, though. My driver of the day, I've said before, is Max Verstappen. I think primarily, it would have, with Lando second. Lando didn't get driver of the day because of his... Wow, someone's just absolutely put their foot down outside my window. Max Verstappen, and Lando didn't get driver of the day because of his poor start. And yeah, it was his race to win here. He had the quickest car. He got the fastest lap. He was comfortably quicker than Max. Yet because of that first corner, finding himself behind Max and finding himself behind George and Max, and then losing so much ground on Max in that first stint because he didn't try to overtake George Russell. I don't know if that was because of his own conscious decision or if the team just went, look, tyre save and we'll extend this stint. We'll try and find a way to recover this race. But yeah, that ultimately cost him the win. But Max Verstappen managed it very well out front once again, very well. And no one else was very good behind. Russell didn't have a great day other than the first corner. Charles Leclerc wasn't great. Sainz wasn't great. Piastri wasn't great. Perez, not great. And everyone else further down. So yeah, it was one of those races, but really enjoyable. Really enjoyable. Probably the most enjoyable Spanish Grand Prix I've had in a very long time. So, oh, thank you, Amelia. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I love doing these. I think we had a peak of like 8,000 or something again. Averaged like 5,000 or something like it. It's nice to know that a lot of you are returning and we're getting those consistent figures. Peak's lovely. It always is. But the peak viewership is solely reliant on kind of like algorithm and YouTube pushing it. It's the returning viewers that I am massively care for, and the fact that so many of you return and we get a consistent average viewership is what I really care about, and I appreciate that you guys are enjoying the streams as well and enjoying these chats afterwards, because look, my missus, I love her, she likes F1, but I can't quite have the same back and forth conversation with her as I can with you guys. So, and she'll accept that as well. But she is getting more into it and getting more knowledgeable and asking me more questions, which is really cool to see. So, would like to have seen more of my lives over the summer. Now you'll be bored. I'll be streaming, Alejandro. I'll definitely be streaming more like sim racing and that. Yeah, obviously we've got the 4-week break with the F1. I'll try and make every race what I can do. I'm not going anywhere now for the rest of the year, holiday wise. So yeah, no, I do all these watch alongs. There's not really any other motorsports that provides this sort of level of information with how I want to do my watch alongs. And I don't want to compromise that. So yeah, and I'm very passionate about F1. There's not really another motorsport series that I'm as passionate about. I'm trying to get into other motorsport series like IndyCar. We'll see, like maybe MotoGP as well. The endurance stuff I keep an eye on, the World Endurance Championship, but I can't sit there and watch endurance racing from start to finish. It's just, I don't mind racing it on like sim racing and stuff and competing endurance races, but actually watching, I'm not too keen on. So, thanks, Chris. Guys, who got the fastest lap today? It was Lando Norris. Lando Norris got fastest lap, and he got the. He was easily the fastest car out on track today. Definitely the fastest car out on track. But yeah, it was a shame. But he, it was his to win. His to win, but he lost the too many. That first stint cost him getting stuck behind George Russell. So, Watchalong. Thank you, Bebo. Thank you. Keep the compliments coming, guys. Oh, keep them coming. Can never have too many compliments. I just won't be able to walk. My head's going to go, and I won't be able to walk out the door. But no, I'm trying to stream more as well. I've said this previously. I'm trying to stream my iRacing stuff, the sim racing stuff more. Also, so that I can keep the engagement up with you guys, and we can just like chat about F1 and all that jazz. I'm going to obviously keep up doing. I want to try and do the updated F1 news video stuff as well, like my opinionated videos. So I'll try and posting those when stuff happens. Now, obviously, I'm back and into the swing of things, back to work and that. So, but yeah, that's the plan. MotoGP is good, but F1 is my favourite. Yeah, the reason I say MotoGP is because Liberty Media have just taken over MotoGP, and I think MotoGP is already kind of on the uptick as well. It has very good racing, like close pack racing. And I think Liberty Media are going to do with MotoGP what they've done with F1. And I think we're going to see it become, I say, more accessible. Obviously, it's behind a paywall at the moment in most countries. It definitely is here in the UK. It's on a service that I'm not subscribed to, and I refuse to subscribe to, which is BT Sports, TNT Sports. But I think they'll probably do something like this with the data, like F1 TV, the MotoGP TV, and just make things more accessible for people, really push it marketing-wise. And I think MotoGP will be, not alongside F1, but I think it will definitely be one of the biggest motorsports out there in the coming years. With as much, for all their faults of Liberty Media, you can't fault them for how they've pushed F1 like into the stratosphere in popularity, can you? So, thanks, Justin. Max Verstappen, yeah. Yeah, we'll be back next week, Rido. Next week. So next we have coming up. Let's have a look at the remainder of this season. So we're in the middle of the start of a triple header, the Spanish Grand Prix. Next week we have Austria. So we have next week is a busy weekend. We have practice 1 is 11:30 UK time, so I won't be here for practice 1, guys, unfortunately. Sprint shootout is at 3:30. I'm gonna try and do that. All depends on my work, of course. 3:30 on a Friday afternoon. I do work from home and I do clock off around that time, a little bit later normally. So we'll see. I'll get up early and do some work so that I can get some work done so that I can do the sprint shootout for you guys. Then we've got sprinting qualifying, of course, on the Saturday, Grand Prix on the Sunday. And then we head to Silverstone the week after, which is a normal race weekend. We then have a week's break. and we're at Hungary. We have a double header to end the current before the summer break. So we go triple header, double header, where we then go to Hungary, the Hungaroring, which is a normal race weekend, and then we head to Spa, which is the last race at the end of July, which will be a normal race weekend, and then we have our 4-week break, returning at the end of August for Zandvoort. So we've still got a considerable amount of races left to go. Max Verstappen's still digging deep. I think Max Verstappen's definitely got, I mean, all it takes is a few DNFs, I guess, but he's not going to get DNFs the way he's going. But every race, we can't pick who's going to be on pole position. We've just had 4 races in a row with 4 different teams and drivers on pole position. That hasn't happened since 2012, 12 years ago. Of course, Max is shining through at the moment and winning races. But I still think, last week and this week, I still think we have got Max has won because of how good he is, but also I think drivers have lost the win. I think the win has been there for the taking, and Max has been there to just go, I'm not going to make mistakes. I'm not going to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, that's down to you. I'll be there to win. To beat me, you're going to have to not make mistakes. Last week, a number of drivers made mistakes, or teams made mistakes. Last time out in Montreal. And Max made the least of those. I think he made one slight mistake, didn't he, into turn 2. And everyone else made more. And McLaren, of course, didn't respond to the safety car and so forth. And then this week, Lando Norris has made, arguably, I say a mistake. He hasn't had a good start. Focused so much on Max Verstappen down into turn 1. He gave the toe to George. Then potentially made the mistake of not attacking George Russell early enough in the first stint. And Max is like, I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to make mistakes, and you need to beat me. And that's how it's happening. So, love to see Lando in his prime. Well, he's definitely there. He's young enough, and he's definitely getting there. So, he's now been given a car that can beat a Red Bull. So, he's putting himself in those positions. It's now just converting that. That was only the second time he's been on pole position as well. So, a different scenario from him being on pole position. He'll learn from it, no doubt. And we could quite easily see him in pole position at Red Bull Ring next week, or Silverstone in a couple of weeks' time. So, yeah, the McLaren is definitely looking very good. Very, very good at the moment. And it's definitely between the McLaren and the Red Bull, definitely 2 fastest cars at the moment. Improvements made a lot by Mercedes, but they're still not there on race pace. And Ferrari, I'm not sure about Ferrari. They need to really kind of do a lot of analysis of this weekend, because they brought a massive upgrade package, about 6 big new parts to the car, and they've finished 22 seconds behind Verstappen and 20 seconds behind McLaren, and behind the 2 Mercedes, which is odd for Ferrari. We thought they was on the up, and they've kind of just stagnated a little bit. So we'll see if those upgrades work in Red Bull Ring. But maybe they're not upgrades, maybe it's updates that haven't had the desired effect. So next week's Red Bull's home track and suits their car. Yeah, I mean they're always strong, aren't they? They're always strong at the Red Bull Ring. But Norris has always been very strong at the Red Bull Ring as well. So I think we're going to see a repeat of what we saw this weekend with Verstappen and Norris going at it again. The pole position in the sprint shootouts and for the win. What might help the Red Bull Ring is, in qualifying at least, I think Piastri will be strong there. I think we'll see a resurgence of Piastri at Red Bull Ring. Over the course of a race distance, I'm not so sure, of course, because tyres again come into it. I mean, he's finished 33 seconds behind, but he was out of position anyway. So, it will help. Of course, Verstappen's not got Perez to help him. Norris didn't have Piastri today to help. We'll see. We'll see. Only a few days, Georgian. Not long. What's my opinion on Carlos's next team? He's pretty much all but confirmed he's going to Williams, and I think, look, I don't think he deserves to be in a Williams car. I think he was right. I know people have said, he's hung about for the Mercedes seat next year, or he's hung about for Red Bull and it's backfired. But think he's right. He believes in himself. I think he is a good driver. He's a top driver, and I think he does deserve to be in one of the top teams. I don't think he deserves to be dropping down the grid like he's going to be doing. But ultimately, I mean, Red Bull have taken the decision to keep Perez, which is just, from a driving perspective, is madness. From a commercial perspective and business perspective, makes sense because the amount of money he brings in. Unfortunately, yes, guys, we don't have the 20 best drivers on the grid in F1. So, I mean, Logan Sargent's there, Lance Stroll's there. I know Zhou Guanyu has his fans, but he brings in a lot of money from the from China. So, yeah, he's just staying on the grid. So he's going to be there. Apparently, he's going to have a 2+2 year deal. And no doubt there'll be clauses in that contract. If a top seat becomes available, he'll be out, or if another seat becomes available, he'll be able to get out of his current contract with Williams and move elsewhere. But it was supposed to, I think it was supposed to be announced this weekend, but it got postponed. So he won't stay second for long. Love Max, but looking forward to seeing Max and Lando swapping spots. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Lando's massively talented today. It was his to win, but yeah, unfortunately, just down into that first corner cost him. I still want to find out. Let me have a quick look and see if I can research it. I want to know if it was a conscious decision for Lando not to attack George Russell in the first stint and overtake him, because it didn't look like he went for it. Now, I'm not sure if that's because he couldn't get close enough to him on the soft compound tyres in that early stage of the race, or if he was like, or if the team have told him to just sit back and manage these tyres. We can do something with the strategy. But if he could regain that position on George Russell, he definitely wouldn't have allowed Max Verstappen to gain 8 seconds in that first stint, which ultimately is the gap that Norris had to chase down in the last stint, but ended up being 2 seconds too much. So, can't find it. Not really anything, unfortunately. Yeah, see you next weekend, Bakary. What's the difference between Max and Checo's car? The fleshy, meaty thing that's in the middle. That's the difference of what's of what's in the middle. What's the difference? If Lando wins in Austria, Max is going to get furious. Could see him putting Max in P2, definitely, if the strategy works. Yeah. Do I think Kimi deserves the Mercedes seat? No, probably. But obviously, I'm not the one putting him in the seat. So I think it's quite well documented that Mercedes, or Toto Wolff in particular, in the past, I think he missed out on Max Verstappen. He overlooked him. I think there was like Max Verstappen, he was made aware of Max Verstappen and an early age, and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, like, whatever. I just didn't pay too much attention to him. And of course, Max has turned out to be who he is. And I think Kimi Antonelli, there's the same comments that are being made about Kimi from like even before we heard about him in the last kind of like year, 2 years. And Toto's been very much like, okay, if that's true, I don't want to miss out on Max Verstappen again. And how good he does in F2 isn't particularly the be-all and end-all, and he's had a very good junior Formula career already. And I mean, if you look at the lap times he's been doing in the tests that they've been running in the W13 and the W14, his lap times compared to George Russell have been like very, very close. Like, you're talking hundredths of a second, like, on average. So he's definitely got it. And yeah, they obviously don't want to miss out on a potential superstar. They have a different criteria than what we do. But yeah, it would be nice. I guess it would be nice to see an actual junior driver be given an opportunity in F1, because with the advancements of sports science now, fitness and so forth. F1 drivers used to retire when they was mid-30s. Like it's a bit like football, really, like soccer. Once they get into their 30s, it's like, okay, they're on the down. They're on the down, and they're most likely going to be retired by their 35. Now, you've got Fernando Alonso in his 40s going. You've got Lewis Hamilton who's 40 next year. Like, they're super, super fit because of the advancements in nutrition and like fitness and just what they can do with their bodies and mentally if they've still got it as well. And that, unfortunately, for junior drivers now, has shortened the pool. It means these drivers are staying around longer, so these seats aren't on offer as much anymore. And it really is about timing and just luck of the draw, being somewhere, right place, right time in your development, to be given an opportunity. So, pit strategy. What happens if they come in at the same time, Max and Lando? What, today, if he was on the alternate strategy? I think if they came in at the same time, I mean, it would have been probably just a fight between them both, because Lando definitely had the pace on Max. He was definitely in the faster car, but Max, and well, rightfully so, did a great job of. Same again. It's kind of like similar to what happened at Imola. His first stint, he gained so much time in his first stint, Max, but that was enough to hold off, to cover Lando charging at the end. But the difference this time around is that Lando was in pole position and ended up getting stuck behind George Russell, rather than Max getting into first and Lando slotting in behind him. If that had happened, I think we would have seen a more interesting race than we saw, and I think Lando would have won the race today. So I think so, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, we need the younger drivers to come through, because it brings something fresh to the sport, new personalities and so forth. I'm just looking at who's on the grid now. So we've got like Daniel Ricciardo. I know people like him, but he's so fortunate to be back on the grid after being removed, after leaving McLaren. I mean, I like Ricciardo, but initially the RB car and the RB team was there to bring junior drivers through. It was a development team. That is not the case anymore. As soon as they brought in Daniel Ricciardo, as soon as they brought in Sergio Perez into from outside of the team into Red Bull, that the whole Red Bull was shifted now. And if I was a Red Bull junior driver, I would be sitting there thinking, I need to get out of this junior setup, because they've kept Perez on for another year plus year. So that'll be what, his 4th year in Red Bull. You know, Max Verstappen they're not going to get rid of Max. So unless Max decides to move elsewhere, he's never going to leave. So the Red Bull seats at the moment are all wrapped up. Then you've got Yuki Tsunoda, who they've decided to extend his contract for. That'll be his 5th year. Next year will be Yuki Tsunoda's 5th year in that team, in that VCARB team. The longest seat that has been occupied in that junior team of Red Bull since its inception. And then you got Daniel Ricciardo, who's been brought back. So they didn't keep Liam Lawson in there, who was part of the junior setup. Proved his worth to be in that seat. Because they decided to bring Daniel Ricciardo back in. And now there's talk that Liam Lawson might not even be in that seat for next year, because Daniel Ricciardo might still keep it. So, like, if you're a junior driver and you're doing really well in F2 at the moment, like Isaac Hadjar and so forth, you're thinking, there's no way for me to get into F1 through Red Bull. There's no way for me to get in there. So yeah, you'd be wanting to get out of that and try and focus somewhere else. Where you would, I don't know. But pay to drive daddy's kids, rip F1, yeah. Max paved the road for young rookies. To an extent. Typical idea, stay out if he comes in. The undercut, overcut doesn't seem to pay off in McLaren. It was more of where they were, though, that's the thing. Because George Russell just lost them too much time. So, But yeah, there we go, guys. Oliver in Haas, probably. Yeah, Oliver Behrman is. But yeah, there we go, guys. That is the end of this watch-along stream. What an interesting race. I really enjoyed that. We got a lot of wheel-to-wheel action up and down the grid, more so than I think we've ever had at Barcelona, to be honest with you. And the strategy really made it interesting. Shame, of course, but we couldn't at least see a fight wheel-to-wheel up front. But Lando, once again, teasing us, but had the car and had the pace to win this race if it wasn't for, of course, that start, which found himself behind George Russell after George Russell's amazing start. Look at George Russell's start. Unbelievable. Lando was so focused on Max, but he forgot about the toe behind. And, yeah, just left the door open for George to swoop around the outside. And, yeah, that cost him in the end. If he slotted in behind Max, then Lando could have stayed close enough to Max to win this race. But ultimately, he didn't get a good enough start, so... so at the end of the day, it's kind of unfair towards the junior drivers. Yeah, it is at the moment. I think a lot of the teams now, I mean, money rules, isn't it, at the end of the day? You've got Zhou Guanyu, who got promoted from F2, but only because of the backing he has from China. Apparently it's worth about 30 million, is what Zhou Guanyu can bring to a team instantly. You've got, like, Lance Stroll, Logan Sargent, yeah. So hopefully, I mean, that's why we need more teams on the grid. So at least there's like four more spaces on the grid, because what is the point of F2 if they're not going to get a place on the grid? You know, because if someone's good enough, they could easily have a 20+ year career in F1. You know, so that's one seat that's taken up for 20+ years, with obviously people going on into their 40s if they want to now in F1. So. But yeah, more teams needed, but not going to happen, unfortunately. Liberty Media want it to be a closed shot. The other teams want it to be a closed shot because any team joining devalues their team. It's someone taking a bite of the pie, shall we say. So, but yeah, Aston Martin are choking. Yeah, they're definitely going backwards. But anywho, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It won't be long until we are back for the next watch-along next Friday. So that's 5 days time. Not long. We're in the middle of a triple header. So Red Bull Ring is going to be great. It's a sprint race weekend, so they only have one. Oh, no, they do get to change setup, don't they? But they only get one practice session. But they are able to change their setup between the sprint race and qualifying on the Saturday. But still, limited time for them to really get all the data that they require, the teams, so it should be interesting. McLaren are very good at the moment at any circuit they go to. Definitely true challengers to Red Bull. Max is just still cream rises to the top, as they say, and Max is still rising to the top. But yet to see a flawless race, I would say, from McLaren and Lando. Yet to see a flawless race. And Max is proving, at the moment, he is kind of flawless. And that's the difference. But yeah, intriguing couple of weeks up ahead of us, and I'll be streaming my own sim racing exploits as well. So be sure to tune in for them. Do you think Audi will get it bang on from the start? Short answer, no. Because they're taking over Sauber. So yeah, and they're not exactly finishing in the top 10 week in, week out, are they? So yeah, that's basically it. But have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. If you could hit the subscribe button on your way out, if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and hit the like button. Just to we got 1,100 likes, so big thank you. Over 53,000 views, and yeah, something like just short of 8,000 viewers. So yeah, big thank you, guys. We'll see you in the week when we head to Austria. Bye.